Hello and welcome to another episode of Real Talk Live. I'm your host Krypton Cage, and I'm joined here today by my co-host the Viking and a special guest Dawson.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's going on? Dawson, thanks for being a guest here, and congrats. We don't have balloons. We don't have any effects, but 17,000 subscribers. Congrats on that, man.
Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was kind of surprised we'd reached that this week. Like, I wasn't even thinking about it at all. Then all of a sudden I woke up one day and I was like, oh, we reached that. Sweet. So I didn't have any balloons on my end either. So like, don't worry. We're all good. I appreciate that. It's fun to be here. I hadn't been able to, of course, be a guest in here yet, and I've liked you guys been doing so far. So it's good to be here.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, then we can.
I just want to ask Dawson really quick. When did you start your YouTube channel? And now, like, hit 17. Like, what was your expectations when you first started, and why did you start your channel?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I first started it back like late 2019. And I started it because like honestly, you guys see this. You guys are content creators too. There's a lot of YouTubers out there who will talk about movies and movie news and stuff, and review films. And I would see a lot of these channels like talking about movies that I feel like are really good or just really good or deserving a lot more praise than they get. And just like completely bashing and being really negative. And I was like, you know what? I feel like there needs to be more positivity out there. Like someone needs to come in there, bring a fan perspective. Like, hey, I enjoyed this movie for what it was, you know, type of thing. And my little brother Brigham, he had started his own channel called Briggs Comics. And he talked about comics.
Yeah. Just a second. Can't see there's echo on myself and on Dawson.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
no, it's all good.
It will be fine.
Just before you hit the emotional parts.
I was about to cry and everything. Like, that's a good thing you interrupted me.
Is it okay now, KC?
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. But yeah, my little brother had started a channel a while back, and he talked about different comic books. He'd like review different comics and such. And, you know, it was inspiring to me. So I was like, you know what? I had already been in the like broadcasting side of things with sports, you know, because I worked as a sports commentator at my university that I attended. So I was like, you know what? I'm comfortable behind a mic. And I love sports, but I also love like nerdy stuff. So why don't I just go and talk about nerdy things? And I like a lot of different stuff. So hence the name of the channel. So I didn't really expect to get very far with it. I just kind of expected it to be like a little tiny little thing that I did, maybe a couple videos here and there, like, you know, nothing too serious. Then 500 uploads later, and 17,000 subscribers later, like obviously that ended up not being the case. But I've really enjoyed it, man, because I've gotten to meet a lot of different people, like you guys, the Four Nerds, you know, Poindexter Lounge, everybody in this community we all see on social media and YouTube. Like, it's been a great place to meet people that have similar interests to me, and sometimes different interests to me than that would like introduce me to new things. So yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah. Like that's been pretty odd, because I remember, I don't know how I found you on YouTube, but I was just going through YouTube and you were doing a stream. I forget what it was, but I think it was Snyder Cut related. You were talking about something. And I just went into the comments. I was like, I like the vibe of this guy. And I was like, hey man, we should like get together sometime and do something. And you were like, yeah, cool. And then we got together and we did like a Man of Steel, a Superman anniversary video together. So that was a weekend.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a while ago, man. Or at least it feels like a while ago. This whole year's like felt like 5 years. So
I think that was last summer, but that's how we kind of met. So it just shows you it's different to meet people with similar interests. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And back then I was in my my in-laws' house for the summer, so I had a crappy camera, crappy microphone. So it's funny how time flies and changes.
Yes, we're improving every live stream. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's the goal. You know, just step by step. You know.
Yeah, exactly. KC, what's our first topic for today?
Our first topic for today is actually Smallville, a little place that's.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have not seen Smallville. I wasn't watching DC shows at that time. My actually first DC show was probably Flash or Arrow. I used to watch the animated stuff, you know, when I was a kid, but I never got into live action stuff. But then I watched Flash, and then for some reason I couldn't get into Smallville, and there's obviously 10 seasons, and that's pretty hard to catch up to.
Went on forever.
Yeah. So now,
Yeah, well,
recently a video came
yeah,
out that
Mm,
well, that's the catch here. The video of Tom Welling came out, and he
mm.
was basically saying that Smallville is getting a animated sequel, but the video had a cameo logo on it. So
Hmm.
I wonder if it was actually news or was it some script that some fan wrote in and he just read it out.
That's a great question because that's the sketchy thing with Cameo,
Yeah,
right? Like you can kind of make them say what you want to say. Like so, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to make an animated series about Smallville. Maybe continuing that story to where you finally see, well, somewhat see Tom Welling Superman in the suit doing Superman things, besides just an S on a shirt or something. But I watched a little bit of Smallville. I wasn't too involved into it. I've seen a couple episodes here and there. Kind of like you, Krypton. I didn't grow up with that show, but like from the things that I've seen, like obviously it's a good for its time representation of Superman. And if they're doing an actual show, like I'm down for it. But at the same time, like they've announced a lot of things for DC over the past couple of months,
that's true.
so it's a little give and take there.
yeah, it's hard to be confident of DC's announcements and stuff. But this was just a cameo, and it sounds like it's in early development. It looks like
Mm,
there's been like no big production like it started on it. But like Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on the show, has his own podcast. He's been hinting at something for a while. People were
mm,
speculating that it's going to be a reunion, maybe like a live stream reunion or like something like the Friends reunion where they get together and talk about the show. But then there
which
was
is
kind of
great, by the way.
yeah, that would be awesome. Like, but it was whispers then of animation, and many fans were saying animated sequel or something like that. And then this
Mm,
cameo comes out, so it's hard to know. But I have a Facebook friend, I think his name is Alex, and he commented under my post when I talked about this, and he said that actually his buddy sent it in for his birthday, get a shout out or something like that. And one of the questions was about Smallville, but he didn't know exactly what the question was. But I don't think he actually said, "Oh, can you read all this out?" I actually think that Tom Welling was confirming that a Smallville um, show is in the works, and I think it could be. I think it
yeah.
could be, and I'd be all for it. I hope that the CW crossover event isn't canon because I thought that was kind of disrespectful to his character from Smallville. Like
Yeah.
you're bringing him back. 10 years he played the character. You're bringing him back, and you just have him on the farm with no suit, holding a Kryptonian rock where he give up his powers. I would have expected a little bit more. So I'd be down for a animated sequel just to see what they could do. What harm could it do to the character? Because we're getting so much Batman content. Why not a little bit more for
Mhm.
Superman?
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. I feel like a lot of Superman fans are kind of being left in the dust a little bit. I mean, obviously, you have the new Batman animated series coming out, the latest Batman animated movie, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Then you have the Batman 2021, and you have, of course, like all these different things Batman related coming out. The Gotham Knights game, the Arkham game is very popular. Like it's very Batman saturated, whereas Superman fans are kind of left playing. The last game they have of Superman is like Superman Returns. And that's not even really a story game. It's just you just be Superman and hang out. So like they're definitely starving for content. I feel that as like I'm kind of a half Batman, half Superman fan. Like I love both characters. So like half of my fandom is definitely very hungry for content, whereas the other side is like over satiated. So they definitely can balance it out a little bit. So
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and like I've been slowly watching Smallville over the last few months. Like I have, because there's so much shows to watch and catch up on. But I've been slowly catching
yeah.
up to it. But it was fun. It was good. It was good content to watch. It's not too serious. I like the
Mhm.
character. So like if Tom Welling is this passionate enough to come back and has an idea for an animated sequel, then why not let him do it if he feels
Yeah.
passionate about it? I bet it's not over money. He's not coming back just to make a quick buck. He obviously Smallville is regarded as a pretty good show. So for him to come back and to give that legacy a bad taste by making a terrible sequel, I don't think he'd
Mhm.
do that unless he was very passionate about the idea. So I'm all for it. Hopefully it's true. It could just be a cameo, so we'll have to wait for more information.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be down for that for sure.
Yeah, and then I like that you said it. Definitely Superman fans are starving, and I
Yes.
kind of fall in that boat too. I don't love Superman that much. Zack Snyder actually got me into liking Superman. And now I
Mm.
do want to see more of him, like especially in the modern take. I don't
Mm.
like, going back to the old cheesy kind of Superman. That's something that I don't enjoy.
Mm.
So um,
And that's something that, like, it had its place,
yeah,
like, it's definitely something that had its place in history. Like, the Christopher Reeve films, they're iconic for a reason, but, like, there's a more modern take on the character. Like you mentioned, Man of Steel. I'm in a very similar boat that you are. Growing up, Superman just wasn't very appealing to me as a character, but then I watched Man of Steel and made me think differently about the character. And so that's why I've gone back and I've read like a ton of different Superman comics, and I have a bunch in my collection I'm still adding all the time. And it makes you look at the character differently, and it makes you really appreciate the creation of that character in the modern day, and I guess in the evolving of that character in the modern day. So I mean, they definitely are starving for that content, especially with like newer take, which I think that Superman and Lois is trying to do a little bit. But like they're trying to get that balance of old fashioned Superman and Man of Steel vibe, which is interesting depending on who you ask.
yeah,
You know.
I would say to people out there who aren't into comics, like I'm not big into comics. I don't have a massive collection, but I love the shows to be like my school to learn about these characters. And
Mm.
Smallville is actually a great TV show to learn about the lore of Superman, to learn about the different villains, the different characters. Because in each episode of Smallville, there's like a villain of the week, and basically in that show they go through nearly all of Superman's villains. So I think it's a good kind of educational format for people out there who want to learn more but can't really afford comics or can't really get into
Yeah.
comics. Good visual representation in this form. Smallville is a good one to watch. I'd recommend it definitely.
Yeah. It's at least an introduction to all the different characters that are involved in Superman's lore.
Yeah,
Absolutely agree.
yeah,
yeah. And for a while, I thought that, how people used to say that, oh, they had Smallville going for like 10 seasons, and he only got to wear the suit in the final episode or something. And I used to think that that show probably would have been so grounded, but then over the years I kept seeing there was dark side, there was, planets colliding
Mm.
and all that shit in it, and I was like, wow, how could they do that without, Superman even wearing the suit?
It was Tom
Yeah.
Welling. From what I
yeah.
understand, he didn't want to wear the suit, which is like, okay,
Really?
that's your decision. But like, from what I understand, don't quote me on that, but I've heard that multiple times that Tom Welling didn't want to wear the Superman suit in the show.
Um,
Um, but like, because again, like you mentioned, there's all these different characters that show up, and like, it would have been nice to see him like, actually be full on Superman facing off against those characters, right? It just would make sense. But at the end of the day, like, we at least saw him in the suit once, which does bug a lot of Superman
yeah.
fans, including myself, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Frank says, I watched Smallville for the first time last year on Hulu. Yeah, it's fascinating that a lot of people are still checking out, these old shows that were not available
Yeah.
probably on streaming, and now they are. So that's also another plus for a lot of streaming content right now.
I mean, my goodness,
Yeah.
like Sean mentioned, there's just so much content to watch right now.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, I like to pride my channel as being a channel of jack of all trades as far as nerdy stuff. But after a while, like, there are so many shows you just end up choosing to miss out on just because there's other
Yeah.
priorities where when you might very well enjoy them, And so I'm just sitting here like, well, okay, I have to choose between this and this. There's like 10 other shows. I have to pick one because I don't have enough time to cover all of them unless I go full time, which I can't do that
Yeah.
right now.
That's the big one.
You're like Austin. You're kind of dealing with an identity crisis. I'm supposed to be nerdy, but I can't watch all of this nerdy stuff.
So people ask
You
me
know?
like, "Oh, what do you think of The Boys?" or "What do you think?" Like it was a couple weeks, people were asking me, "What do you think of Jupiter's Legacy?" And I hadn't watched it yet. I have watched it since, but I hadn't watched it at that point. And I was just like, "I haven't seen that." And they're like, "You haven't seen The Boys? You haven't seen Jupiter's Legacy?" I was like, "I know I'm a fake fan. Okay, leave me alone."
It is that it's ridiculous the amount of content right now, and
Yeah.
there's more shows getting cancelled as well. Loads of shows
And
got
more
cancelled.
shows getting announced. Like
Yeah, so it's crazy. It really is. Frank in the Snyderverse goes, yes, Tom Welling didn't want to wear the suit because he believed in the Superman curse that if you wore the suit, then you'd die like Christopher Reeves. Is that
What?
true, Frank? I never heard that before. Or become crippled. Maybe he did.
I've heard something about that. But I mean, I'm sure Frank might know a little bit more about it than I do, but I have heard that.
Maybe he just thought
Yeah,
that a
he
suit
said it was
sucked.
a super. I'm not going to wear this stupid thing. It was a superstition in the early 2000s.
Wow.
LOL. I believe that
Yeah.
because many people do believe in that kind of thing and curses and whatever happened. What happened to Christopher Reeve, which was terrible. That
Yeah.
wasn't too long after he became Clark Kent for the show. So yeah, I could understand that maybe to an extent, but he ended up wearing it in the end. So I'm sure one season wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he just wore like a bib version of it to make sure that it didn't bring the curse upon him that he was thinking about. So.
Or only get it half.
Exactly.
Yeah, just the top half. Which I'd even settle for that. I would have loved like a short sleeve version of like the shirt and like jeans, like some different comics have. Like I would have totally settled for that. Like, yes, give us that. That'd been great.
Yeah. And Rise75 says, do you think Zack's take on Superman will influence the small animated show like it did to Superman and Lois?
They talk about the my friend Superman animated show?
No, I think he's talking about this one. The Smallville one.
If there is an influence, I'd imagine it's very minimal. Just because like Smallville has its own tone and has its own way of portraying Superman, and people cling on to that. I mean, they might have some small things that take influence from, like maybe some small character decisions as far as writing and such. But other than that, I would imagine they kind of would stick to their own thing.
Yes, because Smallville was its own thing. I thought, it wasn't trying to like be a continuation of Christopher Reeve's Superman or anything like that. I thought it was very much its own thing. And Superman and Lois is doing its own thing, but it's also taking inspiration from Smallville, from Christopher Reeve, from Henry Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
It even had some of the origin for the Clark Kent in the Superman and Lois show was actually a storyline from Smallville. I think it was one of the episodes where Clark is tied to like a tractor or a pole or something like that. They actually implemented that into Superman and Lois as part of his origin. So Superman and Lois has taken inspiration from all of the Superman lore before. But Smallville, I thought, would be its own thing. And if they did do a sequel, I think that Tom Welling would still want to do his own thing and stick out from the crowd. So I don't expect them to do that.
Right. Agreed. I can agree with that.
All right, then we can move on to the next topic here today, which is the Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts. Firstly, Dawson, what do you think of the Transformers franchise?
I really liked the first Transformers movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I remember seeing in the theater. What was it, back in like 2008 is when it came out or something? Yeah. Like late 2000s.
7, I think.
2007, yeah. I remember going to see it in the theater. I was 10. And I grew up with the Transformers toys back when Transformers toys were actually difficult to transform. I actually took some mental power to do that because it made it fun. But I love those toys growing up. I had a bunch as a kid. And then when I went and saw the movie in the theater, like I really enjoyed it. I liked Shia LaBeouf's performance in that. I liked Optimus Prime's voice. I liked the action sequences, even though they're like overly Michael Bay. They worked for me just because it's freaking Transformers. Like, how are you not going to have them not do that, right? So I love that one. I was okay with the second one. But then the third one came along. Honestly, I stopped watching after that. It's not that I like hated it. I just kind of grew numb to the excitement of that franchise, right? I feel like if they would have just simply done like a 1 and 2, then it would have been good. But of course, with Transformers, you're going to milk it for what it's worth. You're going to milk it as much as you can. But yeah, I liked it at the beginning. Not so much later on. I thought Bumblebee was okay. I think it did its job to a certain extent. But the fact that they were like going into like the whole Beast Wars stuff, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of Michael Bay. And I like his movies for what they are, like popcorn-driven movies, visual effects, stuff like
Fun,
that. I enjoy
explosions, action. Yeah.
I don't think Michael Bay gets a lot of hate, but I don't think every director can do what Michael Bay does.
Right.
I think in his own right, he's very unique. Very much like Zack Snyder's unique to himself, stuff like that. Not the same director's writing, but just their style is unique. But I've enjoyed all the Transformer movies. The last night, which was the last one Michael Bay did, I didn't really enjoy that one as much. I think that's the weakest of them all. Even though it's visually beautiful. It's probably the best looking Transformers.
They're all visually
movie.
beautiful. I mean, let's all agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. That one just had the cinematography in that one was just top notch, and it was just brilliant. But Shia LaBeouf, for me, I'm a big fan of his. I loved him in all three movies. It's a shame that he walked away, but he's walked away from Hollywood more or less. Mark Wahlberg took over, thought he did a decent enough job.
I mean, Shia LaBeouf's hanging out at Disney World now, so
yeah, I meant a joke because Harrison Ford got injured on.
Yeah, that's what I was referred to. Yeah.
And Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be the next Indiana Jones, and here's he at Disneyland with a goofy hat. So that was pretty funny, I thought. But and Bumblebee, I'll agree with you. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't as enjoyed as I was when I watched the Michael Bay ones. You know, I just wasn't as pumped. I thought it was fine. It was a fun movie and stuff. John Cena was pretty good, but it was just missing that extra something. But this movie here, Rise of the Beast, they're calling it Transformers 7. I don't know if it's the same timeline or what's going on, but I'll watch it, of course, because I'm a fan of this franchise. And we'll see how it goes, because, Casey, are you going to read the description, or do you want me to read it?
Well, if you can see it, then go ahead.
Yeah, well, this came out yesterday, the day before. Paramount Pictures announced in a virtual event this week the Transformers Rise of the Beast will come out on the 24th of June 2022, which is next year. Will focus on both Optimus Prime, again voiced by Peter Cullen, which is a really good thing.
Yeah.
In New York City in 1994, as we're introduced to the animal-centric Transformers like Air Razor, a bird, Rhinox, a rhinoceros, and Optimus Primal, a gorilla. Leader of the Maximals, as well as the monstrous Terracons and the villainous Predacons. Speaking about the move towards characters from the Beast Wars franchise, producer Lorenzo Di Benaventura said, "We had somewhat exhausted, I would say, the battle between Decepticons and Autobots." So it's going to
Sorry, I just had to do 90s, that to you.
What did you do?
All these words with Transformers.
I don't know. Someone needs to come up with better names. Yeah. I honestly think the Optimus Primal one needs to be changed. Optimus Prime and then Optimus Primal, that needs to be changed. I don't think it's going to work.
I think that's a funny pun, though.
It's taken inspiration from a 90s TV show that was called Beast Wars, of course.
Yeah.
And
which the animation for that was just
terrible. Really, really bad. If anyone wants a good kind of laugh or cringe, just YouTube that, because it's just not good whatsoever. But this is interesting. So, like, instead of transforming into cars, they're going to transform into animals. So that's basically what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
I think Optimus Prime will be the same, maybe as a car or a truck, and Bumblebee is going to be in it as well, of course. And he'll be a car or whatever. But the rest of them will be animals and gorillas and rhinoceroses. That's interesting for me. I don't know if that's going to carry over too well. Dawson, do you think that's going to carry over to the general audiences?
I mean, they had a Transformers T-Rex in one of them, right? Wasn't that the last night? Or
yeah, last night.
And I mean, there's like over the years, there's been a couple of Transformers that have transformed to animals, and there's been a lot of toys of those as well, which can be pretty cool. Like if they are done well. As far as like in movie format, though, I don't know if I'm so worried about the Transformers transforming into animals as much as I am about the multiple different factions involved in this story. Because there's like 5 different factions of Transformers that are involved in this, which can get a bit messy if handled improperly. That's the main thing I'm concerned about, is it becoming a jumbled mess of different groups of Transformers and like what the intentions and goals of each faction are, if they're even explained. That's the main thing that I'm anxious about as far as this story goes.
Kissy?
And I will definitely watch it, because I have, even though I didn't like some of them, and the last one I thought, like you said, visually was stunning, but the aspect ratio kept jumping. That was one problem. But then it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was kind of cheesy, and the whole hero turning on hero was very overplayed at that time, and the story didn't quite gel much with me. But I do like the other movies. I still think that the first 3 were better than everything else. And the third one, I think, is my favorite, Dark of the Moon. I just liked that concept a lot. And it was very kind of dark, and it was cool to watch. But that movie, I think, was the last one that I really enjoyed. After that, I didn't enjoy that much. But then again, I liked Bumblebee. I thought it was a cool little movie that wasn't that was different from what Bay was doing, and I thought it was a good. Um, it had mass appeal, and I understand why they had to do that because obviously this franchise is made for that, and they have to sell toys and all that shit. So I understand.
Hmm.
Even apart from that, I did like the performances. I liked the character of Bumblebee a lot in that movie. I think he was pretty
Mm.
well done. And then the opening sequence with Optimus Prime on, basically their Krypton was
Mm.
awesome. And
That was so freaking
yeah,
cool. I mean, to finally see Cybertron in live action, well, kind of,
yeah,
because it was all CGI, but like, oh, that was a Transformers dream come true. And then and the rest of the movie takes place in a small town on
yeah.
Earth, and I'm just like, "Ah, you guys were on the right track. Just stay there, please."
That whole movie kind of
Yeah,
felt like Man of Steel to me. I've said this multiple times, and it's just
Hmm.
the structure of the movie is basically like Man of Steel. You have the Superman, Bumblebee, you have Cybertron, Krypton sequence in the beginning. Then you have a Zod type character
Hmm.
come onto the Earth. They are basically in a small town. So all of that fits. I don't know if that was intentional from Travis Knight, but I think the movie was pretty good for what he was going
Hmm.
for. And I'm definitely curious to see where they take it. Now, I don't know if this movie is a sequel to that or in the same universe or it's, a standalone or, I don't know about that. But
yeah,
I'm definitely going to check it out. Even though I don't love it as much as I do love other franchises,
Hmm.
I still like to watch it because it's something unique and, there's
Yeah.
fun in it. So.
Yeah.
yeah. And do you have the poll case here? Or did you not get time to do that?
I do have the poll, but I cannot bring it on the stream. So if you can see it, can
Okay.
you just read it out?
Yeah, I'll do it in 2 seconds. I just want to get some of the chat read here. Um, Philip goes, Beast Wars was the next step I always thought. Yeah, interesting. Maybe even the producer said it, the Decepticon and Autobots, they kind of already used that too many times.
Yeah.
Reese goes, that description makes it sound like a soft reboot. Optimus Prime comes to Earth in 2007 in Transformers 1. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second with the poll. And Philip Barker goes, the last night was a tough watch. I'll agree, at times it was
Yeah.
tough, but I still tried to enjoy it as much as I could. Edit
Hmm.
scores, very interesting. Edit scores. Michael Bay should be only in charge for action, CGI, and cinematography. What else is there? Edits. What else is there? But yeah. If I think right, so if you got a director like Travis Knight, who's a pretty good director, but you brought Michael Bay on just for the action, the CGI, and cinematography, that would be awesome. But egos would prevail. Michael Bay would
Hmm.
want to do everything.
Yeah.
Travis Knight would think this guy's taking over my movie. That's why you don't have. It's very rare that you have multiple directors working on the one movie.
Yep.
They
It's
have to be
different
really
this
good
time around.
friends and really know how to work together, and that's very rare in
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. And Philip Barker goes, they made great toys, but yeah, the animation was questionable. But Frank says, bro, at the time the CGI for Beast Wars was cutting edge. I freaking love Beast Wars. I hope they use Cheetor. He was my favorite. And look, that's actually interesting because I didn't grow up watching Beast Wars. So I'm
Hmm.
looking at the CGI in 2021 and I think it's
Yeah.
shit. But if you grew up in the 90s and you were watching that day one when it came out, it's probably the best thing ever. That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
It's hard to
it's
imagine,
it's
but
just interesting.
yeah.
They were trying to do something before they were actually fully capable of doing it. That's the thing, and that's why you see a lot of shows and movies from that time period that don't age very well because they were trying to advance the film industry with these types of animation in 3D, which is groundbreaking. But whenever something's like breaking ground and something's like trying to be revolutionary, oftentimes it doesn't age well because people afterwards learn from mistakes done in that first attempt.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
That was the period when, Hollywood was experimenting with all of that stuff. And right now
Yeah.
it's stable enough where you can use basically, if you don't want to, invent something new for a movie, you can just go back to using what everyone else is using. But at that
Yeah.
time, that was not the case. There was no standard as such. You always had to create your own style and do everything manually. So that used to be the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We did a poll on our social media account on Twitter at the Real Talk Live. You can go follow us there. we did a poll, and the question posed to our followers was: Transformers: Rise of the Beast is based on the '90s cartoon, and that cartoon used time travel. Paramount has never said the Transformer movies have rebooted after Bay's films, but Bumblebee was in the '80s. Transformers 7 is in the '90s. Do you think the film will use time travel to reboot? And these are the options. Yes, time travel is going to be used to reboot the franchise. No, time travel is not going to be used to reboot the franchise. This is another option. It's already rebooted without them really kind of telling
That
us.
was my take.
But the other option was same universe as Bays. So Dawson, out of those four options, which would you kind of go for?
That's a tough one. I kind of don't want to say that they'll use time travel to reboot everything, because I feel like every other franchise is doing that right now. Over the past like 5 years, like X-Men did that. Like the Flash is threatening to do something to that extent. You have a couple other things that have done that as well, to where time travel is like the MacGuffin that can help you start fresh. So I hope they don't do that, because that'd just be, using an old trope to death. I kind of feel like they've just softly rebooted it without really saying they have. I kind of go with that option. Because, like, again, multiple different directors coming in there and multiple different things that just don't quite work together and don't quite line up timeline wise. So I feel like they're just kind of having fun doing what they want to do. And if they want to connect it, they'll connect it. If they don't, they're just like, it's Transformers. People don't care.
Yeah. KC, what did you go for?
Yeah, I went for it's already a reboot. I could see the moment I saw the designs changed so much. And be more like the animation, apparently. I thought that they obviously did the reboot, and they want to go the solo Bumblebee movie and then the big Transformers movie route. So
yeah, well, the winning option was it's already rebooted.
Boom!
44% of the votes was that. So you both got that right, guys.
Yeah.
Like my head is telling me it's already rebooted, but my heart is telling me it's the same universe as Bays, because I'm a big Michael Bay fan. So,
I understand.
Yeah, but actually, yes, time travel, that option was 35%. So people do think that they're going to use the '90s TV show as a platform, like they did, to reboot and use time travel. So they went back in time, or they went to the future and stuff like that. So they're thinking about that will happen in this one. It's going to be interesting to do that, but to do that with robots who turn into animals might be a little bit too complicated for the average goers who just want to see big action. But that was our Real Talk Life poll, where you can follow us if you just search it on Twitter.
Yeah. I thought for a second you said, we had a poll on our social media. Should we kick Dawson off the stream early or not? Yes or no? Answer now.
This isn't the Nicotina show, Dawson. You're safe here.
That's a fair point. Very fair point.
So we can move on to the next topic here, which is really interesting. At least for me, I saw the Halloween Kills trailer and I absolutely loved it. The first frame itself is so good, and it just gets you right into it. And I just loved the whole trailer. I've never seen any Halloween movie before, but I do know about the character.
What? John's just so
you knew about that. Come on.
I didn't know. I thought the only one you had seen is in the 2018 one.
No, I said I'm going to watch that one because I just want to watch this one.
But you haven't seen any other past ones. Oh man, you're a joke.
Sean calling you out, man.
Yeah, I mean, I should have watched it because this he's such a iconic character, and I do see him in everything, like parodies and spoofs, animation. He's always there, and I know the character, but I have never seen the movies. But I kept hearing about the 2018 movie that was pretty good, and I was meaning to check that out, but I just didn't. But now this trailer has me very excited, and I loved it, and I think this is a very good a template for movies to how to get the attention of the general audience, because I just basically was never interested to check this out, but now I am, just by the first trailer, and that's something, that's a big feat.
Yeah, it is, because that first trailer is the opportunity to make a first impression on a movie. And if you nail it, then people are going to be drawn to it. And if you don't, it's probably going to turn you off. Like, for example, if you're the Suicide Squad and you have a penis joke in your first trailer, it's not going to bode well for you with most people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely first impressions are important.
Or the part where they say that he killed 27 children. Weasel.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Don't know how I feel about that, but all right. The idea of a weasel killing 27 children, that's the... Ugh. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I actually got the chance to watch the trailer right before this, actually, for Halloween Kills. And growing up, the only time I saw Halloween films was at like Halloween parties with friends. So I've seen the first one, and I've seen the second one. There was another one where this little girl was being hunted out by Michael Myers in like an attic. I can't remember which one that was. It might have been like the fourth or fifth one or something. But I've seen a couple of them. But the other ones I've gotten a brief synopsis on Foundflix's YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Foundflix.
I love that channel.
Yeah, Ending Explained. Yeah, that's where I get the majority of my horror movie knowledge is from that, as well as Dead Meat with James A. Denise. You know, they talk about the stories and synopsis of all the horror movies. So, like, if I were to have a conversation with someone with horror films, like, they would never guess that majority of the horror films they're talking about, I haven't actually seen. I've just seen videos about them. But, like, I know a decent enough about them. But I agree, this trailer was pretty dang good. And from what I understand from the 2018 Halloween, this movie picks up right where the last one left off.
Nice.
With, of course, the house burning down and, oh, gosh, what's her freaking name? Lori? Is that her name?
Road?
Yeah. Where she's, like, riding away and everything. Like, it seems very interesting. It seems like it's going to be another intense pitting of strengths against each other with Lori and Michael. Although that's kind of what the 2018 Halloween was kind of supposed to be. But, like, they're just kind of continuing that forward. Like, oh, that was a great showdown. Let's give you more of that great showdown. You guys like that so much. Let's do more of that, which can be argued that it's a good move.
Is Lori played by Tommy Lee Jones? The one in the hospital?
Tommy Lee Jones?
Sorry, who is in this? I missed the name.
Tommy Lee Jones is Two-Face in Batman.
Oh, sorry.
Jamie Lee Curtis. That's what it is. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right.
Tommy Lee Jones. It's 2021. Yeah. They can't do that.
I can't wait to clip that and put it further.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. That's who it is.
What I'm talking about.
now I'm just imagining, like, what's his name? Major Chip Hazard from Small Soldiers going up against Michael Myers.
Yeah. You just see Tommy Lee Jones, he's just not impressed.
He's never impressed with anything. No. He pulls up the forget me thing from Men in Black. It's like, you don't want to hunt me down.
Yeah. Oh no, he starts doing what he did in Batman Forever. He starts trying to do exactly what Jim Carrey's doing. So Tommy Lee Jones goes around and starts killing everyone.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, and then oh man, that was good.
Where were we? Yeah, so I what I loved about No Country for Old Men was
that is another movie that I have to see.
Halloween. You should probably learn what he looks like first. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Halloween Kills.
Yeah. Well, I love this trailer. I thought it was absolutely insane. It's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I'm a big Michael Myers fan. I love the slasher movies like Halloween, Michael Myers, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chainsaw Massacre. I just like those types of ones. I don't really like horror, like Conjuring, those kind of things. I appreciate them, but I just don't. I think these hit movies get your adrenaline pumping, and they are pretty scary. Especially the guy going around in a mask who seems supernatural and unbeaten.
Yeah,
you can't beat him whatsoever. He never dies. But yeah, so like I've enjoyed all the Halloween movies. Last Halloween I went back and I rewatched them all, except for the Rob Zombie ones. I just never got a chance, but I watched the main kind of ones with Jamie Lee Curtis, and then they kind of rebooted it then with Halloween 20. And I think it was like they had a house and like webcams. I think it was the age of kind of like Big Brother, those kind of celebrity shows or non-celebrity shows where you just put people into a house and you watch them. But in this house was Michael Myers. That's what that one was. It wasn't great. So the franchise has gone through kind of a like loads of bumps, because I would argue the last great Halloween movie, except for the 2018 one, was the original, was the very first one.
Yeah.
That was really good. And they kept making it, and it was okay, it was good, it was watchable, but it just wasn't as good as the first. And 2018's one was kind of a continuation of the very first movie. They kind of put aside everything else, all the other movies. I thought 2018 was a fine movie. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it. But judging by this trailer, it's like the 2018 one never existed, or the original one never existed, because Michael Myers just looks like he has just said, it's enough. I'm just gonna kill everybody, and he looks so scary in this trailer. He really, really does. He takes down all those firemen. He's going after everyone. The brutal kills. Just looks like Michael Myers times 10. He just looks so.
He's
scary.
Like, that woman tried to burn me in a house. That's it. I was playing softball before.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna kill all you fools. I'm not holding back. All right.
No shit. He's just going straight for everybody. So yeah, I think it was a great trailer. Maybe it revealed too much, which we'll get to in a second. But I like how it's going to be Laurie Strode's granddaughter, and her daughter is going to take on Michael Myers as well. I'm sure she'll fight him. The town seems to be coming together to take him on as well. I don't remember the name, but the original little boy from the movie, the first one, he's back. The original little girl is back as well. The same actors, which is pretty cool. And then we also have the nurse who was in the first one. She was in a car, and Michael Myers tried to kill her. She survived her course. She's back for this one. So the Halloween universe is pretty cool. It's like an Avengers type movie where everybody's going to be in the one movie. So that's pretty cool. I think Paul Rudd was actually supposed to come back and play his character. He played an older version of the little boy in like Halloween 4 or Halloween 5. And that film wasn't great either. But he was supposed to come back, but he was shooting Ghostbusters Afterlife at the same time, so he couldn't, which was a shame. I would have liked to see him come back. But anyways, the original cast is all coming back to take on Michael Myers. And I thought it was pretty good. It's coming out this Halloween. Of course, it was delayed. It was supposed to come out last Halloween, COVID and all that kind of stuff. But this movie will come out in October, and then 1 year later, Halloween Ends comes out. So this franchise is coming to an end in 2022. For now, I don't know how long that will last.
We'll see. We'll see how long that lasts.
Exactly. And as someone said today, I think it's the 50th anniversary of the original Halloween in 2028. So I'm sure they have something planned for that. They'll definitely have a movie out for 2028.
It's the ghost of Michael Myers coming back to kill everyone.
Yeah, they'll do something. But we ran a poll, of course, on our Twitter page.
I did it for Chucky.
This is what we put out.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the question we posed our followers was, do you think the latest Halloween kills trailer showed us too much? A lot of kills, jump scares, and plot was revealed. The three options were, yes, too much spoilers. The second option was, nope. Third option was, yes, but more.
How simple the nope is, nope.
I don't know. I don't know.
Just the simplicity of the answer, just nope.
So the second option was nope, and the third option was yes, but more interested for the film now. So Dawson, which one do you think won out of these three?
I might have to go with yes. Well, too much, but it piqued my interest because, like you mentioned in the trailer, they talk about how the town comes together and basically are hunting down Michael Myers. I feel like that might have been something that would have been cool to see in the film itself rather than in the trailer, because like that's something that like you don't see a lot of necessarily in the Halloween films. Mostly it's just like a couple of people, maybe some people in the police force. The psychologist that he has, I believe, is what he is. But usually it's pretty limited, right? And everybody else just kind of, kill count people and characters. But now you have an entire town going after this guy, which I think is a very intriguing idea. But I do think they should have saved that for it to be something that people experience in the film, because it's something that could give a sense of camaraderie and community. Like, oh, these people came together, they realized something messed up is going on, and they're all terrified. They're coming together to defend themselves. I would have liked to see that in the theater, but I still think it's interesting and it's piqued my interest.
Yeah, Casey, which one do you think you won, or which one won?
I picked nope because I've never seen anything to judge what they could have spoiled. So.
Plus, nope is just funnier.
Well, like I can reveal. Well, personally, I just say I thought of course I know the winner of the poll, but I thought it was too much spoilers. Yes. I would have liked to have seen a lot of those kills in the theaters. And I think what were we like 5-6 months away from Halloween, or not 5 or 6 months, but nearly that 4 or 5 months away from Halloween, or less. Is it 4? Just think,
July, August, September, about
yeah.
4 months.
This isn't the most intelligent of streams. We don't know who Tommy Lee Jones is, and we don't know what month we're in.
Michael Myers
So,
is
yeah, but I
doing
just think
stuff to our heads.
yeah, we're so scared. But I just think it's a lot to show, especially when the movie's not like it's not next month, it's not in 2 months, it's Halloween. But the winner of the poll is actually a tie between Nope and Yes, but more interested now
Yes.
at 35%.
Good.
You
guys
lost,
won again.
Sean.
I did lose. I could have been corrupt. I could have picked the winner in my pre-answer.
But
I think it's Nope.
But are you
You
more
could've done that.
interested
You
after
could've.
watching the trailer or not?
Oh yeah,
Then you picked the
definitely,
wrong
definitely.
choice,
But
man.
yes, but I still think it's spoiled too much.
You done messed up, Avron.
Yeah. Dawson was
Yeah,
right
but,
the
we
most
would
then.
do yeah, Dawson's 2 for 2.
Boom.
Got some.
I know the fans want.
Frank was having a good laugh at KC's Tommy Lee Jones. We'll call it a joke. I hope
Yeah, it was intentional.
And Reese goes, imagine the last thing you see is a giant in a James T. Kirk cosplay with a knife. Because many people for years were saying that the Halloween mask is molded off William Shatner.
It is.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
And that's what the theories were for years. I don't think anyone ever confirmed that, but it does look like William Shatner.
I'm pretty certain. I've seen special features on some of them. I'm pretty certain that they did simply have a William Shatner mask,
Really?
and they
Did they?
fitted it to make it look like a serial killer. So basically, William Shatner is, Michael Myers.
That's hilarious. And Anthony has a few questions, but they're not Halloween related. We'll get to them in a little bit. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Halloween Kills.
Yeah, and
The trailer killed it.
yes.
Yes.
And the poster was also pretty good. I thought that the cinematography of this trailer, it looked pretty amazing to me. Like the color choices and the scale of the movie, and the close-ups of his mask. That was also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never see his eyes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That shot where he comes out of the house with the axe, that's scary. And then he just turns it over.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I looked it up. It said, I looked at the mask thing. It said it had been rumored for decades that the mask the killer Michael Myers wore in the Halloween films was in fact based on Shatner's face, not just his face, but specifically a Captain Kirk death mask created for Star Trek. As it turns out, the anecdote is very true.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder how he felt about that.
So it's not only a William Shatner mask, it's a Captain Kirk mask that is painted white.
Yeah, that's look, one of the most iconic TV characters of all time, and he's a serial killer too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the fame went to his head.
Yeah.
And then one Halloween.
Oh man, it all went downhill. Star Trek was canceled. He was mad.
Yeah.
He set his phaser from stun to kill.
Yeah.
So we'll jump on to the next topic. We'll talk some Marvel and DC now. Starting with
All right.
Shang-Chi. I don't know how exactly to pronounce it yet. So
Yeah, it's Shang-Chi.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the trailer was pretty cool. It was the first official trailer, right? The previous one was the teaser. I liked it a lot, and I liked the aspect that there was more CGI and more powers shown. They also show a dragon. They show training sequences, and they also finally show Abomination.
Yeah.
And he was just a quick little nod in the trailer, and I don't know how to feel about that. But apart from that, I did enjoy the trailer. I am intrigued by this movie. I know that this is kind of different from the rest of the movies, and it looks pretty cool to me. It looks something similar to what they did in Agents of Shield, and some of the imagery here looks similar to that. So I am pretty much excited for this. I will definitely watch this in a theater. It looks pretty grand. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's Shang-Chi is one of those characters that I've never read a single comic featuring Shang-Chi. So I'm just gonna put that out there. So like as far as comic book knowledge of the character, I have none. But it's one of those situations like I remember when I went and watched Guardians of the Galaxy in theaters. I had no knowledge of the Guardians of the Galaxy at all. But I walked away very pleasantly surprised, because I thought that was going to be Marvel's first big mistake was making a movie about characters that nobody really knows. And I walked away and I was like, dude, that was actually really good. And I feel like Shang-Chi is going to be another example of that, of Marvel being able to expand their universe because, they've built it up in a very steady way. They've had faith in the overall idea and overall vision for what they wanted to accomplish with the Infinity Saga. So they're able to branch off from that. And it just, again, it shows their patience, shows their determination, and shows off their willingness to stick with a vision. But Shang-Chi, I was much more intrigued by this trailer than the teaser. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, as a diehard DC fan, it's the truth, But this trailer definitely got me more hooked on the story because at least I know a little bit in the comics that the rings are around his fingers, I think, but the rings are on his arms instead for this movie, which I think looks absolutely awesome. Like the visual effects for the powers that he uses was really cool. Abomination was really cool to see because honestly, the Hulk movie with Edward Norton is probably one of my favorite MCU films. Even though people kind of sometimes don't consider it MCU, I consider it. I feel like Edward Norton should have continued and they should have worked it out. Not a huge fan of Mark Ruffalo, but it is what it is. And I love Tim Roth, who is confirmed to be back for the She-Hulk series as, I believe, the Abomination character. So it stands to reason he's back in some capacity for this role. I love him as an actor. He's great. And I like the fact that they show the fact that Abomination's always mutating, and they gave him more of a slightly comic accurate look with the fins on the side of his head, more of the tail fins on his spine, compared to what we saw in The Incredible Hulk. At first, that big dragon underwater, I flipped out because I thought it was Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah, everybody was saying that.
Yeah, but apparently there's toys out there that like the dragon's like white and gold, which of course Fin Fang Foom is all green. So I was incredibly bummed because one of my first Marvel comics I ever read was Spider-Man fighting Fin Fang Foom. So I was like, dude, nostalgia trip. And it turns out, no, I was.
But they could also be adapting that into live action, and it could be the same character.
Could be. I mean, we'll just have to see more. We only got a brief shot underwater, so I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. But I would love that to be the case.
Did you see Iron Fist season 1?
Trailer. I actually didn't get to see Iron Fist
because in that whole season they teased a dragon so hard, and then at the end they just showed a cave, and that's it. No dragon at all.
Yeah.
It was cool to see a dragon finally here.
Yeah, I mean, it expands the world, But like I said before, I feel like this trailer really drew my interest to this movie. I think it combines elements of great martial arts as well as just action, superhero stuff. And like you said, Krypton, it kind of breaks the mold and it does something different, which I think is very welcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, look, I thought this trailer was pretty good. Like Shang-Chi is a character that I wasn't like counting on the days for because I never read about the character, never seen the character before. So it's up to the trailer, it's up to the marketing to get me interested in this movie, yes. And I think it's done a pretty good job. And this is a movie that looks like it needs to be seen in theaters. The cinematography, some of the visual effects, some of the fight scenes look pretty badass, look pretty cool. I think they're going to be introducing the real Mandarin into this one.
Thank you.
Iron Man 3 is a little bit of a disrespect to the comic book readers out there.
Oh, not kind of. Complete disrespect.
Yeah, completely.
Kind of is an understatement. Oh my gosh. That hurt my soul.
Okay. Well, it was a big FU to the comic book readers.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. But it's going to be cool to see how they do
the Ten Ring stuff is also cool.
Abomination. Yeah, that is cool. And I'm interested to learn like the mythology, the history of this character, of these 10 rings, what's exactly going on. So that's all going to be cool. And I think this movie could do pretty well. And I think the trailers for this have been awesome. And like Black Widow's a film that's coming out soon. I don't even think any of the trailers for that were as good as this one. This one, for me, just really got me so excited. But the Abomination sneak peek was pretty cool. This kind of reminds me of Hulk in one of the trailers for Ragnarok, where Thor fights Hulk and you get to see Hulk roar and stuff like that. And then they fight. gonna be interesting to see exactly what's going on in that action sequence. Looks like maybe there's some sort of fight tournament going on, or
And
maybe
Wong's there too.
Yeah, Juan is there, so maybe they put sorcerers in against monsters or something like that. I'm not too sure what's going to happen, but Abomination being in it, such a weird character to have in it. I think in this type of movie, you think he'd be in a Hulk movie, or he'd end up maybe Thor or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see that character return.
Yeah, Frank has a good point. He says Abomination could be setting up Thunderbolts, which was obviously a rumor in when we were watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that was also kind of a setup for Thunderbolts. A lot of people said. So yeah, I could see that.
And could Dawson, maybe you could tell us about this? The Thunderbolts. What exactly is that?
So as far as the Thunderbolts, like there's Thunderbolt Ross, who's the father of Betty Ross, who's the love interest in the Incredible Hulk. Yeah. I'm pretty certain, again, Marvel comic history lore knowledge is not as strong as DC for me, but he becomes Red Hulk.
Yes.
So that's a big thing. And so like if they did that, that'd be dope. I'd be more than down to do that or to see that in a movie. But like I don't know how you do that outside of a Hulk movie.
Yeah.
Just because Universal and Marvel don't work well together. I mean, Mark Ruffalo has even said this himself. But so I mean, I'd be down to see that. But that's as far as I know, as far as Thunderbolts, Thunderbolt Ross, and everything.
Yeah, I would love to see Abomination and the Hulk go up against each other again, but not Mark Ruffalo's Hulk the way he looks now, Professor Hulk. I just don't like that Hulk.
He'd probably walk up to Abomination and be like, "Hey, how's it going, man? Here's a taco."
Yeah, it reminds me of Sully from Monster Inc. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it just
doesn't work for me.
Yeah, just be angry. Bring back Ann Lee's Hulk for God's sake if you're going to just do that, because it really annoyed me in Endgame when he started making jokes and just.
Well, what really annoyed me with Endgame with the Hulk is when we had this massive battle scene with all these heroes and not one shot of Hulk smashing any characters.
Yeah,
not one. It's like he snapped and he fulfilled his purpose throughout the entire movie, and that's it.
I sometimes wonder if Feige does that on purpose, to fuck with Universal, and because I think the deal is as such that they Universal keeps the merchandise and toy sales and all of that, and MCU just gets to use the character in their team up movies. They can't even make a solo movie for him. So
yeah,
that's strange how that goes, because I doubt if they had complete control over Hulk that they would, for lack of a better term, neuter him that much.
Yeah, well, no, that is the best term. They neutered him. They really did.
Yeah, but this trailer looks pretty good. It's coming out September 3rd, not too long to go. And Simu Lee or Simu Liu, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He looked like a badass in this. Yeah. I think he's from the show Crazy Rich Asians.
His show was the Canadian show. It was
yes. Sorry, yeah, Kim Convenience. Yeah, sorry, I got the two mixed up. But he was so funny in that, so good. So it's cool to see this comedy actor come from that go into MCU. I think that's pretty cool, like a Paul Rudd. But I think he's a little bit more badass at the action than that.
Yeah, and it shows range, which is always very impressive to see.
Yeah, so I think we're all excited for Shang-Chi, and we'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, do I have a poll? No, we didn't do a poll for that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, yes. We did, actually. I did.
Did Shang-Chi actually have 10 rings, or does he have 9? Debate.
Does the MCU finally have 10 rings?
Well, the question that we asked our followers was, are you happy to see Abomination back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? 4 options were yes, nope. It wasn't no. It was yes. Yeah, I should have done it. It was yes, don't care. The other option was should be in a Hulk film, and then the other kind of option was who. So, which option do you think won, guys?
Man, I'm gonna have to say, I think the fans would have said should have been in a Hulk movie. But like, I'm personally excited to see him. But like, I think that's what fans would think. And I'm just gonna go with my gut on this one.
Yes, he.
I would say yes. because I don't think they'll ever make a solo Hulk movie. That's not, on the
Right.
cards. So that's not happening, unfortunately. So, yes.
Yeah. Well, the option of Who brought in 4%. Should Be Hulk was 16%.
Ah,
Don't Care was
Oh,
25%. And Yes was the winner at
yes.
52%.
dang
So
it. Dang it.
you lost your streak, Dawson. You lost your streak.
That's it. All right, I gotta go. I gotta dip out of here. This isn't worth it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And Anthony Strader goes, my lineup for Thunderbolts would be Thunderbolt Ross, Baron Zemo, Ghost, Abomination, Taskmaster, Ghost, Yelena, and Punisher. And Reese was saying the Russo brothers also said Hulk's arm won't heal too. So that's interesting. His arm won't
So
heal.
he's got like a shriveled arm now. Like that's what
Yeah.
we're dealing with the Hulk. Like
I'm telling you, man. It
I don't know.
feels
Just don't make him green
it
then.
feels more and
Just
more
get rid of
like
the
they are
green.
doing that on purpose to fuck with Universal. We're gonna have Hulk,
Probably,
but
I
we're
mean-
gonna treat him so bad that you'll just
Yeah.
because even they are not making a movie. Like, where's the Universal solo movie?
He's like that character in To Killing Mockingbird. He's the one who was on trial and had like the shriveled, like kind of bad arm. That's what the Hulk is now.
Yeah.
It's like, dang it.
Anthony says Hulk did something good. He brought everyone back in Endgame. But imagine if it
He
was
did.
imagine if it was the 2008 Hulk where he's angry, but he realizes that like this is the right thing to do. To bring everyone back, maybe sacrifice himself. It would show like his empathy as a character who was just completely anger. I think that would have been cooler. If he wasn't Professor Hulk, if he was just Hulk and he did that.
Well, also, I think another thing that could have worked better is if like he snapped and brought everybody back, and it kind of like knocked him unconscious to where like he'd have to be found later on after the battle's over. But instead, they had him like running into battle with everyone, and then they didn't show him do anything. That was my big issue. Is that like you had this big old fight sequence with all these different characters, pretty much showing everybody. Like even Wong
They
was
showed
shown doing stuff.
A-Force.
Yeah, A-Force, and then they didn't show Hulk at all, and I was like, what? Come on.
I don't hate what
This
they
is
did
okay.
with Hulk in Infinity War and Ragnarok and Endgame. But I do
Right.
think that it's the second best thing to do. Because we still could have had the first best, which he was in Incredible Hulk, because he was awesome in that.
Oh yeah, great. It's absolutely great.
And I'm not gonna say that
Yeah,
that's how a
I
Hulk
didn't-
should have been, and because I'm fine with what they did.
But
it would have been cooler.
Anthony says that Hulk should have gotten his rematch with
Yes.
Thanos. I agree. They should have fought again.
Yes.
They should
Absolutely.
have fought again. And then
Mhm.
Hiding TK goes, Universal should do a Hulk movie with Edward Norton. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
It does,
He's a little older for that now, though. But
yeah. And it
I
doesn't
think
make
he was
sense
kind of,
why they don't do it, because they have the deal, they can make their own solo movies with Hulk, but I guess they just want to keep the rights but not make any money. Reminds me of
they probably want Marvel to cave and pay them millions of dollars just
they're
for the
not
rights
gonna
of
do
Hulk.
that.
they're satisfied with the Universal Studios ride.
And doesn't Universal has that's Fast and Furious and Jurassic World and stuff like that. So
They have all the rights.
They're not too worried
Yeah.
about making a Hulk movie.
Yeah.
But so that's our thoughts on Shang-Chi.
All right, then we can move on to DC now, starting with Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1.
Yes. Because I came prepared because I have this little beauty.
Nice.
Yeah, the noir version of The Long Halloween. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. Oh, beautiful book.
Nice.
Beautiful book.
So I'll start
Yeah.
because mine is not as positive. I didn't love the movie because I thought the music was like dead. There was literally no score for any scene going on except a few scenes, and then it was too slow in the beginning. It was just the animation also sucked. But near the end, I don't know if this is considered spoilers because the story is out for decades now, but
Right.
I started liking it after Joker came in. He
Mm,
probably, elevated the movie a lot for me and made it interesting. I especially loved it because it was Troy Baker, and I just love his Mark Hamill impression as Joker.
mm,
He does it amazingly. So, I loved that, and I wasn't a fan of Batman's voice actor as well. Jensen Ackles did it,
mm,
and I just didn't like that as well. Um, but yeah, the story was kind of intriguing.
mm,
Although I don't think this would work in live action. See, I think I was watching it like a 2021 animated cinematic movie, but it didn't feel as much of that to me. It kind of just felt like
mm,
scenes put together and just unfinished. But I am
mm.
definitely intrigued for the next movie, and I don't know how you feel about it because I've never read the comic, so I don't know how it does, as comparison to that. But
Mm.
as a totally new introduction, I was like kind of underwhelmed based on what I saw. But I'm waiting to see
Okay.
what the second part does. So there's that.
Yeah, I think there's some of your concerns that I definitely share. Like as far as the voice acting, I think Jensen Ackles' performance was hit and miss for me. There were some moments where it worked really well, where he felt very
Yeah,
natural, and I felt like it was more him. And there's parts where I felt like he was trying to impersonate other Batman voice actors in the
yeah,
past. He was trying to sound like them to a certain extent, and it just came off as kind of fake a little bit. Just here and there. It was mostly in the later parts of the movies where it felt a little bit more fake, a little bit more forced. Although I do love Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent. I
yes,
feel like Josh Duhamel did a
I
great
agree.
job. I love his voice so much. And then Naya Rivera, the great, late great Naya Rivera, who unfortunately passed away last year, I believe, tragically. But she did great as Catwoman,
Yeah,
honestly. And I've shared your concerns about the DC animation as of late. Like Man of Tomorrow, I hate the animation style. Just Society, I feel like was a little bit better,
yes,
and they kind of keep in a similar trend with this movie. But I will say that, and I'm a very like visual centered person as a striving artist
yeah,
myself. So like I
hmm
pay a lot of attention to this, like the visual stuff. But as far as the visuals for this movie, I feel like the thick black outlines for the characters works a little better in this one, just because like the aesthetic and the visuals are darker. Of course, being a Batman story, so like it kind of blends in a little bit better. So I think the animation of this one compared to previous entries in the newer DC animated universe was a little bit better and a little bit easier to watch, especially with the fact that they made the background stuff a little bit more. What's it called? It had a little bit more texture compared to the flat
yeah,
characters. It really felt like you could actually focus on the characters and just the characters with just kind of the background being what it is, which is easier on the eye. As far as the story, obviously I just showed you the book that I have. I have read the book several times, and I love the story. It is a slow burn, though. It's a slow developing story that, if you're not used, I guess it's more of a detective type of
right,
thing, where it slowly develops over the course of the book, and kind of like what you're mentioning with the Joker insertion into the story, which does happen in the book as well. That is kind of where it picks up in the book too, because then pieces start kind of falling together, but also things start to kind of not make sense to Batman. Like, okay,
yeah,
well, what's going on here? Very similar to the movie, and that's another thing that I feel like this movie does pretty well is it does stick pretty faithful to the source material. In fact, it does a great job of trying to duplicate different panels that Tim Sale drew in this, with like the different things left behind at each murder. When it says like Halloween or Christmas, like all the different things that are laid out there are like panels in the book. Like for example, there was one they did for I'm trying to remember which holiday it was. I think it was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was the one where I believe they replicated it almost perfectly, if I can even find the panel in which they do that. But I think they did a really, really good job with not trying to duplicate Tim Sale's style just because it's so distinct, but they took inspiration and did their own thing with it. Like, oh, for example, there's a gang that's killed in the movie, and you see right here is a same, very similar shot. So they did a good job of replicating certain panels. That I mean, I'm always down for that. I love
yeah,
when directors visually duplicate things that work in a graphic novel because it works for a
yeah,
reason. Um, as far as the animated movie is concerned, I feel like it's a good start. I feel like they did a good job or made a good decision by splitting into 2 parts, much like the Dark Knight Returns animated movie. Because that's how you do a graphic novel. Because there's so much stuff, so much depth, and so much story to explore in a graphic novel. You can't cram that in an hour and a half. And I love the fact that they split this up.
Awesome. I just wish that the animation was similar to the poster here. This looks pretty high quality, but
yeah, they never do though. They never have it the same as the poster, which is unfortunate. I do personally wish they would have kind of used, or with this new DC animated universe, I wish they would have kind of stuck with the older style, like in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, just because that works very well for me. As long as you avoid making Superman look like he did in Flashpoint. If you avoid that, then I'm good.
That's correct. I agree with you. I love the I think that's the New 52 style, right?
Yeah,
I like that one.
Yeah, I love New 52 art. I feel like it's very underrated. But yeah.
Yeah, so I watched this movie just the day after it came out, and I'm a big comic book reader, as I said. And look, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a very slow burn. And I like slow burns. I didn't mind that too much. It's an animated movie. I was patient with it. I was waiting for the mystery to unravel. I liked that it had a mystery. We got to see Batman kind of be a detective. And I thought for what it gave us, it was pretty good. The animation style, I didn't have any problems with it. Superman Man Tomorrow, which you referenced, that did take me out of it at times. I didn't really like that style, but here I thought it was a little bit better. So basically what's happening in this movie is Batman is investigating a murder spree that only takes place on holidays. So Halloween, that's why they call it the Lawn Halloween, because the first one takes place on Halloween, next one Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, so on.
And all the murders are centered around the Falcone family.
I love that part.
So it's
because I love when Gotham includes Falcone and Moroni.
Yes. Yeah.
And that kind of gives a grounded feel to it. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me a bit maybe of a Scorsese movie with the mob family, the mob or something like that. Maybe The Godfather, if you want to reference that. That was kind of cool. And I did like it. And I thought that Jensen Ackles as Batman, I think his Batman voice was pretty good. But, he doesn't have a voice where it would stand out. I think Troy Baker's one, it stands out for the Joker. But it sounds a lot like Mark Hamill as well.
I wish they would have switched Josh Duhamel and Jensen Ackles characters. I wish they would have made Josh Duhamel Batman.
That's what I thought when I read the cast. I thought he was playing Batman.
That's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, because his voice is more distinctive. You can tell it stands out a little bit.
A little more gravelly, but at the same time, you did want to have a younger actor because it's a younger Batman in the story. Right. So,
yeah, and Josh Duhamel plays Harvey Dent. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Troy Baker should have done Batman as well because he does a fantastic Batman.
Troy Baker needs to do everybody.
He's just amazing.
Even Selena.
But yeah. But no, I enjoyed it. I thought that to see the supernatural feel to this world as well, where we got to see Solomon Grundy, I think, underground. That was kind of cool. I think that's what Matt Reeves' Batman world is going to be. Grounded, but also have that supernatural aspect to it of a Killer Croc maybe, or a Grundy. I think that's going to exist. And I thought the mystery was pretty cool, and I can't wait for part 2. I will agree with Reese in the chat. I didn't like the Joker design. I thought it was too, it's too safe. We've seen that design before. Do something different. Joaquin Phoenix's one was different. Jared Leto's one was different. Stuff like that. I just think do something different. You have the character of Joker. There's no problem switching it up and trying something new. There's one character that I was really interested in and I wanted to see more of was Calendar Man. Because Batman goes to Arkham Asylum and he visited, he walks down the hallway and all the cells are there. So all his rogue gallery are looking at him and stuff like that.
And Calendar Man's played by David Dashmalchian.
Yeah, and he's going to be in Suicide Squad as Polka Dot Man, I think.
Yep.
And I thought he was just, I don't know what. For an animated movie, he stole that scene on the screen.
He was very sinister.
He was just like, wow. Yeah. So I hope he's in part 2. And I would not be against maybe doing a Batman film down the line where he takes up that role again as Calendar Man and it's just a villain for the entire movie. Because I think he's just brilliant, guys. I thought he was a standout. Yeah. Did you guys feel that in that?
I did.
100% agreed. I feel like he was a standout in the movie. And good news for you guys.
Nice.
He is someone who Batman goes to a couple of times in the story. He should be in the second part. I absolutely loved his performance. When I watched that scene, I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. He stole the show.
Yeah, because usually when you
And for someone
portray Calendar Man, it's kind of ridiculous. And when you even
Yeah.
think about him, it's kind of ridiculous. But he definitely did, create something really unique there.
Yeah, he really did. And it was like almost like Silence of the Lambs meets Gotham.
Yes.
Which I just love that.
That's a good description. But like for someone who's a huge Joker fan, I think Calendar Man was maybe the standout villain in this movie. You know, even though he was only in it for a tiny bit. And I love Joker. I thought he was pretty cool, but it felt like Joker was kind of shoehorned in there. And I felt that maybe there's a sequence, I won't spoil it, but Joker's in a plane. I thought that was a little bit,
Yeah.
took me out of the movie a little bit.
See,
You know,
stuff like
it
that
just
I was like,
tone.
why do we have that? But
and that's the thing when I read the book too, because that's also in the book. That
That's
whole
what I
thing's in the
assumed.
book. But even in the book, it almost feels a little shoehorned in, which is odd. What I guess it makes sense that they portrayed it accurately.
Yes.
It kind of had the similar feeling to it. And about the Joker design, I absolutely agree. I feel like they were too safe because the Joker design in the book, he's like mega creepy. Like I'll try to pull up another shot of him when he's in the plane. Like he's just straight up, just creepy as all hell. If I can find a good solid picture for you guys,
Like Killing Joke?
Here's more so. So like this panel right here. Like see how big and like pointy his nose is. And, like
I love that kind of
so
Joker, and I wish that one day somehow you do CGI or you do prosthetics, whatever. Just give me that once in live action. I'm just dying to see that in live action once.
Yeah, and so I wish they would have gone more in that direction with this animated movie. That's one complaint about Joker. And again, I love was it Baker? That's the voice actor, right? He did a great job. In fact, there was multiple times where I like went to make sure that Mark Hamill wasn't in the cast.
He does a pretty
I'm pretty sure he's not in this because he replicates it very well.
He gets asked about doing it at every single Comic-Con.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. I mean, if you have that voice talent, I mean, you're not going to not be asked to do that.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the next when like Mark Hamill. I don't think he's doing the voice anymore recently, but I think Troy Baker will be the next kind of iconic voice.
Yeah, he's already doing a lot of even video game characters, and then he did. I think he was the Batman for the Telltale Batman games. Those were amazing as well. Like he was amazing as Batman in that. So that's the reason I wanted him to play Batman as well. But you can't do that. You just in one movie it's hard to have that.
But I liked there's lots of twists in this film as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is a part 2 that's coming out in July 27th. So we just have over a month to wait for that, or just a month.
Perfect.
And so looking forward to checking out part 2. If it's as intriguing and mysterious as this one, then I'll be happy enough. And I think all the performances and the portrayals were pretty good. So it's an interesting, different take on Batman that I've never seen before because I never read it in comics. So for me, it was refreshing, and I really, really enjoyed it.
And another thing I really liked about this adaptation is that Gilda, Harvey Dent's wife, she's a big player in the book, but they focus more on her in this part 1.
There's something going on with her.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, don't worry, there definitely is. But like they focus more on her to set her up more because in the book she's shown a couple times, and it builds her up to something later on in the story, but I feel like they did a great job of just showing more of her state of mind than the book does. Nice. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Then I guess there's a big payoff in the second movie.
There should be. unless they pull a Batman Hush, then no.
I haven't seen that
one. If you've read the book or have heard the story of the book, it's kind of a miss. You don't have to watch that just because they totally butcher the ending. And it makes me so mad because Hush is another one of my favorites that I read all the time. And they just completely did a 180 of what the character at the end was supposed to be. And it's just like, why? That was another reason why I was anxious about this one, because the last Batman adaptation they did from a graphic novel, the ending didn't turn out so well. So I was pleasantly surprised to find this part 1 was as accurate and as faithful as it was.
That's good. I'm glad that it was worthy enough for you because
Yeah.
nothing worse than.
I'm glad you're happy.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It should have had Tommy Lee Jones.
As Lori.
Yeah.
You never hunt down Michael Myers in Gotham City.
Yeah. That's what I want. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
But you're wrong.
Anthony goes, okay, I'll tweet about you later. God, I hate this guy. Just a picture of your profile.
Start a fake Twitter feud. It's like, oh man, this freaking Viking guy. Who does he think he is?
And then the burner account would be not nerdy in many ways.
Or the foul-mouthed nerdy and just cusses all the time.
Yeah. Then you could definitely play Two-Face.
Yeah.
But Anthony goes, I haven't seen Batman Long Halloween. I'm going to wait for part 1 and part 2 to come out on HBO Max. Not a bad idea. You could sit down and watch maybe it'll probably be 3 hours, 3-hour movie, all 2 parts. That's not a bad idea. And I don't know about this one here, but Bruce Campbell and Roger Craig Smith are my favorite Batman, and is up there with Kevin Conroy and Ben Affleck. I don't know those guys.
Bruce Campbell is a good one.
Is it Bruce Campbell that's in Spider-Man movies?
Oh. I'm trying to think. Hold on. Animated.
Was he in Gotham by Gaslight or something? No, that was, I think, Jason O'Mara.
Oh gosh, Jason Maher. Yeah, Jason Maher was great.
Yeah, I like him. He's good. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a bit.
Let's see, what has he done? I'm trying to think.
I'm just not familiar with those two actors.
Because Bruce Campbell, he's the guy from The Evil Dead.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Evil Dead. I didn't know he did Batman though.
Does he? I'm trying to figure out. Does he do Batman?
Maybe in Arkham.
Hold on. I'm looking. No, not in Arkham, because Arkham was Kevin Conroy.
Maybe someone in the chat. No, I just never heard of him do.
I'm not seeing anything. He probably did. I'm just not seeing it here.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But
Anthony says, I love Calendar Man portrayal in Batman Arkham City when you have to meet him on every holiday. Yeah, Dawson, you played the games. What do you think of that?
Yeah, basically, you just have to cheat and change your calendar in your Xbox and go back in and get it done in like an hour. Because otherwise, you're just playing the game 24/7, like trying to get on the right day, and that achievement's very meticulous.
Yeah, but kind of a pain. Like, Halloween's next, so I really have to wait 3 months.
I was so happy when I found a YouTube video tell me, like, you can work your way around this very quickly. I was like, thank you.
But so a review for Halloween, the Long Halloween Batman Part 1. So I'm looking forward to Part 2. It comes out July 27th. And we'll all watch it and we'll review Part 2.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And Dawson will have a more in-depth review on his channel.
Yes.
I mean, soon, tomorrow. Is it?
I actually filmed it before the show, but I should be posting it either later tonight or tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Anthony corrects himself. He goes Bruce Greenwood in Under the Red Hood.
Oh, Greenwood, okay, yes.
Yeah, he was good.
That's it.
Yeah, he was good. That's okay.
So our next topic is the Suicide Squad Superman in the ICU controversy. For some reason it is. But firstly, what are your thoughts on the whole thing, firstly, and then we'll get on to what James Gunn said.
Like the whole ICU thing, you mean? So I'm fine with that, because like it's a comics thing. I'm pretty sure it was his first appearance of Bloodsport where he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet. So like, it's referencing the comics. So I'm personally totally fine with that. It does build the world a little bit, makes like to where there's more threats to Superman than just simply like a Doomsday or a Lex Luthor, right? It makes a more dangerous world, and it actually adds a little bit more, intrigue for the Bloodsport character. It makes him seem like more of a boss, and you get to expect a little bit more from him, because if he can shoot Superman, then he's obviously someone to be reckoned with.
He could shoot a starfish.
So I'm totally. Yeah, he can shoot a big starfish. I mean, that That's fair. But I'm okay with that whole ICU thing. I know a lot of people are upset that they're just like, oh, like they're disrespecting Zack Superman. It's like I don't see it that way personally. Like I love Zack's movies. I'm a huge fan of Zack's DCAU, but I feel like we need to stop looking at everything that's different from Zack's stuff as an attack on Zack.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, Warner Brothers is against Zack, we get that. But other directors and creators, we all know that they really love and respect Zack. So I don't feel like they, like, for example, Andy Muschietti or James Gunn, who actually wrote the screenplay for Zack's Dawn of the Dead, I don't think they'd go out of their way to disrespect what Zack has done in the past, right? At least in their own films and their own scripts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, look, I have no problem with it, really, to be honest with you. Would it be even better if Henry Cavill was to show up and we got to see it? But as James Gunn said, he doesn't know which Superman it's going to be. Because the first Suicide Squad, Ben Affleck showed up as Batman, Flash showed up. That was pretty cool. You know, that's a pretty cool moment to sit there and watch.
Yeah, it's world building. You know?
Yeah, it was. But this time around, it's not going to be like that. This is going to be a name. It's going to be a reference, which I'm disappointed at. But I think it's cool for the character of Bloodsport. It elevates him as a character and say, oh, well, he did that to Superman. Pretty cool. I still think we'll get maybe a cape shot or boots shot of Superman, maybe. I hope they do. It's better when you can visualize the scene instead of just them saying, oh, he shot Superman. I want to see something just to show me.
How did he pull that off, you know?
Yeah, show us the plan, show us something like that. But I don't have the controversy because James Gunn's his own director. He's doing his own thing. And let him do it, And the Snyderverse will be its own thing if it ever gets restored. It won't connect to the DCEU universe. It might not, but it doesn't have to. But James Gunn or the other directors don't necessarily have to take everything that he did and put it into these movies. They can take what they want as canon and use it. But I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a cool little Easter egg, cool reference, and hopefully there's a few other references like that in the movie. Maybe even a hero will show up. Probably not, but we'll see. But I have no problem with it.
With that, though, I think, kind of mentioning the whole I don't cast the next Superman thing, I feel like that statement I can understand a little bit more gripes with because, DC's doing this whole like multiverse thing, right? Which is basically them just saying, oh, we're excluding things we don't want. That's what that is at this point. But if you're doing a real multiverse, these directors can make these movies in their own worlds to where they can basically say what is their version of Superman in that world or what is a version of different characters in that world, right? I feel like that's something that a director should be able to do in a true multiverse type of world. Whereas, like in this situation, it doesn't feel that way. And he's like, "Oh, I don't cast the next Superman." I was like, "Well, this is your world you're creating here. Why you can just simply choose? Like, you can say it was Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, or Henry Cavill. You can say one of those, and then it looked like you're actually building your own world. But to say that I don't cast Superman, it means you're codependent on the next Superman film or whatever next Superman they cast. If they end up casting a different Superman, because who knows if they even make this new Superman movie that they've announced. I highly doubt it's going to happen. But I feel like he should have been able to say, like, oh, this version of Superman is the Superman that was shot, personally.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just like, what Superman is it? Put it into the movie. Like, I don't think fans are going to lose general audiences wouldn't lose their mind really if they just said it's Henry Cavill or it's somebody else. Just
because it's a multiverse, or it's supposed to be anyway.
Yeah. It's supposed to be, and they talked about that last year at DC Fandom. If it's Tom Welling, all right, that's pretty cool. Brandon Routh, okay, that's pretty cool. But just don't lie to the audiences. Don't lie to the fans. Just do something. Just do something.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree, and I also don't think that it's a bad thing. For me, and I think that this is actually true. The DCEU and the Snyderverse are different. Zack has said it before. Warner Brothers has made it very clear from their actions, and it just seems fair that every director gets their own share of freedom to make whatever they want. If James Gunn wants Brandon Routh to be his ICU Superman, then he can choose him if he wants. If he wants Henry Cavill, then he can choose him. I think people get upset with this, thinking that it's a shared universe. I don't think it is a shared universe anymore. Like, if suppose they actually film a scene with Henry Cavill Superman actually lying down in an ICU, all on camera and all that, I don't think that has any effect on Zack's movies. He will never
No.
acknowledge that, and neither on screen or off screen, he will never acknowledge that. Like you said, this is a multiverse, so those are technically different Earths now. So it doesn't have to get you upset, but I get why people are upset about that. Because Warner Brothers has handled Superman quite badly, and they never are clear onto. They're still not clear about Henry Cavill's future as Superman. So I can understand the frustration from people. And
Oh, yeah.
James Gunn saying next Superman specifically, although there's context behind that, I do get why people might get upset about the words next Superman when Henry Cavill is still
Yeah.
Superman.
When Henry Cavill's like, honestly, my opinion as of right now with current actors is the perfect casting for Superman. Like, if you're gonna have a Clark Kent in a movie, he's the guy that fits that so well, and he's done it in movies. It's just frustrating. And again, I really doubt that this next Superman movie will get made with what's his name, Coates,
Mhm.
one of the writers for Black Panther. I seriously, I feel like that's going to go into development hell. I feel like there's going to be a bunch of like different scripts, different versions of the script, and then by the time they might actually pull something out together to some extent, Discovery is going to be in there, and executives are very much on the chopping block with that because they're going to want to bring their own people in and set up shop and make things organized in a way that actually makes sense.
What a strange concept.
What a strange concept. So I feel like with fans being upset about the DCU right now, I feel like, again, we just have to wait. We just have to be patient. And I know we said the same thing about AT&T, which hasn't turned out as well as we hoped. But I feel like we have a little bit more reason to hope with David Zaslav, Discovery, Warner Brothers Discovery, that whole thing going on. I feel like there's more reason to be optimistic. So just kind of have to wait through the muck a little bit. I know we as DC fans have been through the muck. We really have.
Dragged and
we have
dragged
been
every day.
Dragged, hands chopped off, dragged through the dirt. Like it's been bad. Compared, and then we look across the aisle to Marvel, and that Marvel fans have been treated very, very well. And so that kind of goes more into why fans are upset because they see that these Marvel fans are very.
A third movie.
Yeah, exactly. They get a movie called Quantum Mania, for goodness sakes. So Marvel fans are eating pretty well right now, and I think we just need to wait a little bit more for us to know if we're going to be given the same treatment or similar treatment with Discovery.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what's an interesting thing, because like a year, 2 years makes a huge difference. Like a year and a half ago, the Snyder Cut wasn't a thing; it wasn't coming out.
Yeah,
and we watched it. And a year from now, I think Black Adam will have come out, or it's soon to come out. So who knows if Henry Cavill's going to appear in that? And him popping up in that, and that film's a huge success. He's talked about it, it's a huge buzz. Warner Brothers' hands are tied. They have to bring him back for more because the audiences are going crazy. And then that's where you're probably right. The Black Superman film with J.J. Abrams and Tanashi Coates, that gets squashed because they can't move forward with that because The Rock has this big plan for Henry Cavill. Black Adam, The Rock versus Superman. Like that's box office money right there. That's like a WrestleMania main event.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think The Rock is aiming towards. I think that's why his agent has been very patient with him returning as Superman. They haven't caved for any deals. They haven't, made him pop up in Birds of Prey or even the Suicide Squad. They're waiting and waiting until The Rock can say to Warner Brothers, "Hey, I want Superman in my movie. I want Henry Cavill."
Black Adam's going to look at Superman and say, "What is your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. I'm going to put you in the dirt." And I agree. I think like a year and a half ago, like you said, the Snyder Cut wasn't a thing. Now, just yesterday, I pre-ordered the box set of Zack Snyder's Justice League, that like the trilogy they're calling it, which it isn't a trilogy. But you know what? It's got Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League posters. I'm getting it. I have it pre-ordered, and it's a thing that exists. And so again, we just have to wait just a little bit more. And it's always the waiting game for DC fans. It always is, which is frustrating. Hopefully one day that waiting will be over. I hope by the time that the waiting is over that the superhero trend isn't dead. That's my one main fear. But again, we'll just have to be patient and see.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't understand why, I understand that Warner Brothers wants to have a Superman that everybody loves, right? And unfortunately, Henry Cavill wasn't someone that every single person loved. So, yes, exactly. So I don't understand why they cannot just tone him differently, because even Henry Cavill has different ideas for his character.
Mhm.
So I don't know why they cannot just use him in different. You can use the same actor, but tone down or tone up his cheery side or whatever. However you want to make him, you can experiment with that in different movies, right? So I don't
Yeah.
know why they're still not doing that. They can have him in a James Gunn movie be kind of campy and cheery and making jokes. You can have that, but it doesn't affect the Snyderverse. He'll still be our traditional Superman in that universe. So I
Mhm.
don't see how that affects it. Maybe it really does come down to Henry Cavill, asking a lot and Warner Brothers not wanting to pay that, which is absolutely ridiculous because they should have upped his contract back in 2017 when they went.
Like, it's Superman.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's the first freaking
He's
superhero.
getting.
Like, you're cast as a superhero. You should get a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I think more so than the money, it's association with Zack. I think that's the
Yeah.
main thing, honestly.
And also,
The
like,
origin of the DCU.
I do understand that. However, you
Mhm.
can tweak his character in different movies. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
especially if you are making another Man of Steel 2, for example, with J.J. Abrams or someone, he'll definitely make Henry Cavill Superman his own Superman. He won't continue from Man of Steel, especially because Warner Brothers will be on his back saying, you know what, you can do everything you want except Man of Steel. That we do not want. Do everything else. So they'll definitely change him up, and people will love that. Just
Mhm.
like they Superman and Lois is the best example, I think, because Tyler Hoechlin, I didn't like his Superman one bit when he was in the Supergirl show and the crossovers, because he just was the punching
Mhm.
bag and everybody just kept. He was just a shit character, and then now, and now he looks pretty good, and he's carrying his own Superman character, and everybody seems to love him. So it's the same actor though. So I don't know why that they cannot do that with Henry Cavill. It's weird.
It's a great point. It's a very great
And
point.
I was watching Hobbs and Shaw a little bit today, and The Rock is in it, of course, and he was a big producer of that movie. But he knows how to make fans happy and to create buzz. Like Ryan Reynolds popped up in that movie, and Kevin Hart. He knows just how to get people excited. So I wouldn't be surprised if Henry Cavill shows
Yeah.
up in Black Adam. Because that would get people excited, and he loves making fun, popcorn driven kind of movies. And I wouldn't mind Henry Cavill returning in that capacity because I know it would be done in love by The Rock and his production company because they would treat the character with respect. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. But just a few guys in the chat here from Instagram. I see them. Tony Chappie is here, or Tony Movie Chappie is here, and Try Burrow. He goes, keep Henry Cavill as Superman. He's the best one since Reeves.
Yep.
He also says, I hate when DC does this. They cast someone as the iconic Superman, Batman, then get so anxious to get rid of them for somebody else. Just stick with who you picked for the role. Yeah, that's pretty good. And
Mhm.
Anthony goes, I really hope we get Henry Cavill as Superman and Sasha Calle Supergirl face to face against Brainiac. That would be awesome. Hopefully, with fingers crossed. You never know what's going to happen. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all okay with Superman being in the ICU by Bloodsport because of the multiverse and
Yeah.
could be a different universe, and we'll have to see how the Superman story develops. But that's our thoughts on. Casey, do we move on to the last topic before we go into our Q&A?
Yes. The last topic is Army of the Dead and Zack Snyder.
Mm.
So this article came out from Forbes, and basically they reported that Army of the Dead did pretty well, and it was the top streaming movie according to Nielsen, who does streaming numbers.
Yeah.
And it was the number
Mhm.
one movie of this week. So they say filmmaker Zack Snyder's newest film, the zombie heist movie Army of the Dead, dominated the Nielsen streaming movie charts in the US for the week of May 17th to 23rd, edging out Disney's animated Raya and the Last Dragon and Cruella. That's big.
Dang.
Army of the Dead is expected to become one of Netflix's top 10 watched movies, and this is also very big. And this was, I think, I was definitely predicting this. Top 10 was a given for me, but top 5 is kind of hard. But let's see how that.
Krypton's like, called it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we get it. You're right, Kiss.
No, but top 5 is definitely hard, especially because there's Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
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 Adam Sandler taking vacations with his friends and getting paid for it. And oftentimes with attractive women.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all just jealous of Adam
Yeah.
Sandler.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that.
Another interesting thing in this article was that Netflix productions occupied the top 5 movie spots on the Nielsen's list, with Army of the Dead at number 1, followed by Home from 2015, Blue Miracle, The Mitchells versus the Machines, which was awesome, and Doggone Trouble, which I haven't seen. But yeah, it's interesting that all top 5 movies are from Netflix.
That is pretty crazy. I mean, we knew going into Army of the Dead that we were getting something unique. Yes. We knew going into that we were getting Zack Snyder unchained for the first time in a long time. Zack Snyder unrestricted. Zack Snyder with free reign to do whatever freaking crazy idea he wants. And it was a crazy idea, and it's paying off. You know, it's drawing a lot of intrigue. And I think the main reason for that is just because, like, Zack's been so open with the media and with fans. You know, a lot of times, like, you know, directors will do interviews and stuff and promote their material, promote their movies. But Zack's gone above and beyond in doing that. He's a master at marketing. And I think Netflix realized that. And they were like, you know what? Let's use him for what he's worth. You know, let's see what ideas he has to market it. And he probably went into that meeting with a stack of papers like this high. It's okay, I want to do this, VR events, like do all this kind of stuff, this kind of interaction with social media. And they just ate it up. They were like, you know what? You're a trending topic right now. Let's go with your ideas. And they worked. Yeah. You know, when you have good, solid marketing, you support your creators, it gets the viewers excited because it shows that the distributors have faith in what's coming out. And therefore, you should have faith in that too, which is something that Zack hasn't experienced from a production studio in a long time.
And also, this man never revealed everything that's in Army of the Dead universe to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's also paying off a lot because a lot of people have been talking about that movie and discovering more and more theories and, you know, talking about that even more. And then obviously Netflix's YouTube channel is promoting the movie even till today. They are making videos about that movie and all the theories, all the fan theories, and they've included all that. I bet Zack never told all that stuff to Scott Stuber. He just probably said, look, it's a zombie movie and it's a heist movie, but it's more. And then Scott was like, get in.
Like, stop right there. I'm in.
Yeah. But I think it came out at the right time because Zack Snyder's name was in every article about the Snyder Cut, about what happened on the set, movie coming out, and then he had a Netflix movie coming out and stuff like that. And nearly everybody has Netflix. So I think everything just came together at the right time.
Netflix was looking at the chops with this. They saw the news and they're like, yes, this works so well for us.
It's odd. And like, I think like the zombie genre is still popular. Like Walking Dead, Black Summer is season 2. I don't know if any of you guys seen it. Brilliant. It's a zombie show on Netflix. The first season of that was huge. Second season pretty big as well. So zombies are very much still relevant, very much like superheroes and stuff like that. So, and then Zack Snyder's a big name. You attach Man of Steel to the marketing. 300 Dawn of the Dead. People are going to watch it. Dave Bautista's a big worldwide star from WWE. People are going to watch that. Guardians, of course, as well. Garrett Dillahunt, he is from Fear the Walking Dead. Walking Dead fans are very passionate. They follow the actors to different projects. Of course, it was a zombie project as well, so many fans would love to watch that. The cast was diverse, so the film did pretty well. It was a good ride, and yeah, that's why it's one of the most popular of all time. And it did pretty well, and it was received well. It wasn't just a Michael Bay film that made loads of money but was received poorly. This movie was received pretty well, and it did well for Netflix.
Yeah.
So.
I can't wait to see what kind of cover art it's going to have for the physical release. Like, what kind of box set they're going to do? What kind of steelbook is it going to have? Like, yes, give me that. It's going to be creative to say the least.
Yeah.
It's also funny how the promotional material is all so colorful and everything. Just like the opening sequence, Zack talked about the opening sequence. I think that that idea extends to the promotion as well. He said that it's kind of ironic that this horror zombie movie is like so colorful and there's a cheerful song at the beginning when people are just dying, getting hacked. So I think even the promotional material is as such. He says that it's kind of ironic when a horror movie has this colorful, neons and all that shit. It's funny.
Like the posters, like bright
Yeah.
greens, bright pinks, bright blues. Like it's like there's a bright blue poster for Army of the Dead that I just would love to get. That was posted. It was a couple weeks ago, actually.
Posters they released
which is
after the movie were amazing.
Oh my gosh! Like I haven't seen posters look cooler than that in a long freaking time. Like I want a big one just right there on this wall in my studio. You wouldn't be able to see it just because my wall behind me is taken up, but like just right there, just so I can just look at while I'm streaming. Just like, look how beautiful that is. That's a zombie killing somebody, but look how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Cool. And like each time when like the Nielsen numbers come out, like and HBO Max wouldn't release the Snyder Cut numbers. It's another dig of Warner Brothers and everything there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big success. We all enjoyed it, and the Armyverse is guaranteed. Restore the Snyderverse isn't yet. Hopefully, with different executives and Discovery coming in, it will be. But Army is a guaranteed thing, and I'm all for it. I can't wait. I'm a big zombie fan.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder is very much. I think would it be good to say that he had the two most successful movies of this year on streaming?
Yeah,
probably.
He did.
So and he's probably going to dominate the Blu-ray sales too.
Oh yeah, it's going to sell out again. Like, oh my gosh, like that freaking box set for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Man,
are they doing physical release for this?
I'd imagine at some point.
Okay.
It hasn't been confirmed, but they do it for sometimes special, like special shows and movies. So I think like they've given Zack everything that he has wanted. So I wouldn't be surprised if he asks, "Can I do a Blu-ray?" and they say yes.
Because I know Stranger Things had physical release, and they released the discs in like these like VHS style cases, which is beautiful, by the way. It looked really good. So I'd imagine they do something similar for one of their top performing movies of all time.
Yeah.
It just would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But who am I?
Army, you're a fan, and Netflix listens to the fans.
Oh, another strange concept.
Oh, what? Hold on.
Listening to the consumers that give you money.
What? Supply and demand? What is that?
Yeah.
I never went to business school.
Amazon going to be bankrupt by tomorrow.
Well, not really, because my dark side figure arrives in the mail from Amazon tomorrow. So
yeah, and I got a Zack Snyder's Justice League on the way too. So.
Yeah.
But
worth it.
Yeah, that's our thoughts. Yeah, exactly. But that's our thoughts on Army of the Dead. Dawson, are you okay to stay around for like a 10-minute Q&A?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so there's a new format coming to the show where we have viewers' questions, so you can send them in. Now, if you go follow us on the Real Talk Live on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, posts will go up there where you guys can put in your questions, or follow me at Movies That Matter. I'll pop the same kind of post on Instagram, which some of the guys in the chat have come from. Chappie and Triboro have come from Instagram today, which is pretty cool. I put up on Twitter as well, on Facebook, where you just send questions in the comments and we bring them up here. So, KC, do you have... Actually, there's one I forgot to send you, KC. It was from Chappie. And his question was, and Dawson, I'll put it to you first, your favorite guilty pleasure.
What?
Favorite guilty pleasure? Ooh. Yeah, I'm about to say like movie.
Oh, yeah.
Or are we going to get really personal here?
Hookers.
Let's... We're really getting to know each other here. This is real talk for a reason. But favorite guilty pleasures. Oh man. I'd say one of them has to be X-Men Origins Wolverine. That movie is like, it's not very well done, but I love watching it just because there's so much fun stuff about it. The CGI is terrible. But it's one that I really enjoy watching. Another guilty pleasure. I don't talk about this a whole lot, but I'm a huge musical fan. Like I love musicals. I'm from a very musical oriented family. We all played different instruments. We sang a lot growing up, performed in different places. And I love Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables. There's actually a specific version of the Phantom of the Opera that I watched on Netflix back in like 2015 when they had it. It was a live performance that was recorded that was played at like the Royal Music Hall, I think. And it featured the singer named Ramin Karimloo. And Ramin Karimloo, he's an Iranian an Iranian opera singer, and he's like, oh my gosh, his voice is like butter. I wish I had that voice. It pisses me off that I don't, but it is what it is. So musicals and X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Cool.
Nice. KSP?
There are a lot. I am just going to pick some random movie right now that comes, at the top of my head. Avengers Endgame. I'm just kidding. Gods of Egypt.
Wow.
That's the one that comes to my mind.
Gods of Egypt. Oh, okay,
That
yeah.
is, in traditional terms, a terrible movie with terrible choices, but there are some familiar faces in it, and it's fun in a enjoyable kind of way to me. The CGI was great. The fights were like I think they knew that they were being ridiculous, and I kind of saw it like that, and I enjoyed it. So a lot of people hate that movie, but I did enjoy that one.
Philip Barker's a good one. Terminator Salvation.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I also really enjoy. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that movie as well. People just give it hate, I think, because it's not as good as the first two, kind of way. But yeah, and then Frank says Godzilla in 1998.
I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Matthew Broderick's in it, and
basically, Godzilla's a dinosaur. He's basically a T-Rex.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's like I think there's smaller T-Rexes or dinosaurs running around the place as well.
It's basically if Jurassic Park and Godzilla had a baby.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but it's
yeah.
It's okay.
Dawson trying not to judge Frank.
I mean, I said X-Men Origins Wolverine, so like it's open range here, man.
My favorite guilty pleasure is, I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was one of those Halloween movies where Tommy Lee Jones played Laurie Strode, and it was weird. Not many people have seen it. I think KC told me about it. He recommended
I saw it on Earth 2, man. I just didn't want to reveal it.
Where Laurie is the boy's name in that world.
But seriously, I'm never going to leave that. I'm never going to stop saying. I'm never going to stop talking.
I swear, you need to post that clip. You have to.
Even after saying it, I didn't even think about it.
I will. I post it. But no, my favorite guilty pleasure is comic book movies that are regarded as bad, like the old Fantastic Four movies, the two of them that come out within 2 years.
I like those too.
With like Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. Maybe
I don't agree with that.
Spider-Man 3. I don't agree. I'm not saying they're great movies. I get some enjoyment watching.
Yeah, I got you.
Like a Batman and Robin. I know it's terrible, but I just laugh. I can watch them. I can watch them. Daredevil. But actually, I've seen the director's cut of Daredevil, and it's actually a pretty good movie. So
yeah, that one's pretty good.
So yeah, my guilty pleasure would be comic book movies that people would say are terrible. I actually like.
Yeah, I just can't get over Batman and Robin. I just can't watch it. I just can't do it. The opening scenes alone, where like the wire works so bad and the ice skates coming out of the boots, like I just can't. At that point, I'm just like, I remember when I did my review series for Batman movies, and I was coming up on Batman and Robin, and I was just like
dreading.
I don't want to do this at all, but I had to, and I did it. I'm glad that I went through it. I don't think I'll ever watch that movie again, though.
I think they went full toy mode at that time, like Justice League.
Oh, yeah.
Every single frame should be made into a toy.
Like, I had a good friend growing up that I had all the toys for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin in, like, a little side room. I remember that very distinctly, and I liked the toys. Nice. But then later on, I saw, like, the movies, and I was like, the toys are definitely a better part of those stories.
Yeah. I don't really blame Joel Schumacher. He was really forced to do that.
No. I mean, Joel Schumacher made Phantom of the Opera. I mean, I love that guy.
He's a brilliant. We just have Frank says also Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie with Mr. Oz. Ooze is another guilty pleasure of mine. How is that a guilty pleasure? That's a great movie. I love Power Rangers. So I think those are amazing. Now, that's a pretty good one. And what's the next question, Casey?
Yeah. So we'll start looking at questions on the screen here. So first one comes from DCU Movie Page on Twitter. He asks, did you think Loki, being the most character-centric project of everything Marvel Studios has ever done, have a negative effect on the reception of the show from a general audience expecting more of the formula? Also, who more did you think will be part of the secret tournament of on Shang-Chi? For the first question, I would say that Marvel Studios has built a brand now, so I think most people will enjoy whatever they make, for a
Yeah.
few, misses. At least what I call misses, like Captain Marvel, stuff like that. But
$1 billion film is a miss.
I mean, any movie can make $1 billion from Marvel, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially in that year
No,
when they had the biggest earnings in Disney history ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have built that fan trust to the point where like they can decide to make a movie about, let's say, I don't know, some kind of leprechaun character or something, and people would still go watch it just because they built that fan trust that people could have been able to rely on them to make consistently at least decent movies, right? To a certain extent, right? Because like you said, there's been a couple of misses. But they've overall had that reception to where it works for them. They're able to figure it out, able to get people back into the theater. As far as it being more character centric, I kind of agree with that. I think it explores more of who Loki is on a psychological level, of what he's capable of. Of course, there's been more kind of in-depth conversations between him and other characters, like for example Sylvie, to where it explores more how Loki views the world. So yeah, I do feel like Loki has gotten a more deep dive into his character than other MCU shows or movies so far.
I agree.
Yeah, I think if it was going to happen, it was going to happen with WandaVision because that was different, the sitcom element to it. And then I thought the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was more of a slower movie or like a series, and with no problems there from the general audiences. And Loki is somewhat the same. There's some jokes in there, but it's has some deeper moments. It's slower. So it hasn't happened with these Disney Plus shows, and I don't expect it to. So yeah, as you said, they've built it up. They've built up trust. So I don't see that being broken anytime soon. So I think once Marvel's on it, it will do pretty well, and they usually are watchable and they're okay. So yeah, and also for the part two of this for the tournament, I think they blew their load in that trailer. I think Abomination was the big secret person in that tournament or monster. I think he will be the only one, maybe him. And what's the character from Doctor Strange?
Wong.
Yeah, I think they're probably the big surprises. They probably shouldn't have showed that in the trailer though, but that's what I think.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too. All right, so the next question is from Peppermint66, who asks, I think they should do a movie consisting of Marvel and DC characters and call it The Great Divide. What do you think?
This is one that I've thought about and talked about a lot on my own channel. I like both Marvel and DC. I do. I grew up with the Spider-Man movies. I grew up with Spider-Man comics. I've also grown up with Batman and Superman, and so I've loved characters from both franchises. My thing though is that, and I've said this a bunch of times, and I'll continue to say it just because I believe it so strongly, is that even though I love both, I feel like both have their own distinct taste and their own distinct style and tone to a certain degree. Of course, both of them have characters that are both darker and brighter in tone and such, but overall, DC and Marvel just have a different feel to them. And to me, the idea of a movie mixing them together, I feel like would just be too clashing internally for me. But that's just me, right? That's my own personal preference. I personally wouldn't care to see a mashup movie just because I feel like it would only be for the sake of having those characters on screen and not really telling something that's like a story that's intriguing, right? It'd only be for the sake of fan service and toys. And I like things to have more depth to them than that. And I feel like this kind of collaboration type of movie just wouldn't accomplish that for me personally.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with that as well. It's one thing asking, oh, will the X-Men universe from Fox cross over with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or will the Sony universe of Andrew Garfield cross over to the MCU? That's one thing because it's all Marvel, so that's realistic, and it has happened. It has really happened. X-Men's going to come into it now soon. I know they bought the rights, but Tom Holland from Sony came to Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that's a possibility that happened. DC, James Gunn said recently he did talk to executives about this, an idea or a
Yeah.
possibility of DC and Marvel crossing over. So I wouldn't rule it out in this world that we live in, that someday it could happen. Dawson's just nope.
I don't want that. I just don't. With all due respect,
but I don't see it happening unless Marvel have complete control. I don't see them giving DC any say in that whatsoever, because it becomes the thing like, oh, like which character do we want
Feige
to
will
lose,
literally show them the finger if they say anything.
Unless Warner Brothers went in complete turmoil in terms of money and had to sell DC, then maybe. And Marvel and Disney bought it, then I could see it happening. But anytime soon, no. And do I want to see it? No, because I don't think we wouldn't get a movie like The Joker. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a different take from you guys. I would love to see it.
Well, you're wrong.
Look, there's one of two things to happen, right? Whether it will be good, whether it will suck. So there's a 50-50 chance there. Maybe not 50-50, but you know what I mean. One of two chances, right?
Yeah.
So I would take that chance because it's not something that would create or destroy existing franchises. It would be something different, a standalone kind of thing, and it would probably not be a full-on Justice League versus Avengers movie. You could do two second-tier characters mashing up and something like that. That could be cool. Like for example, Deadpool and Deathstroke going on an adventure or something like that. Just throwing some ideas. But
Deathstroke would be so sick of Deadpool by the time 20 minutes is over in the movie. He probably would have cut his head off like 3 different times.
stuff like that could be cool, and I bet if they are going to do that, I bet they'll start with animation because it's much easier and safer to do that than a full-on live-action movie. So I'm just saying yes out of curiosity. I do understand you guys' concerns with that, and I do share those concerns. But this is something very unique, and it's so rare that stuff like this never happens, especially with competing brands. So it would the behind the scenes of all of this will be as much fun as watching the actual thing. So I would totally be down for it, and I will definitely be there day one in the theater watching it.
I can agree that animation would work better. It'd probably be the first thing they'd do. I can agree with that take.
Yeah, because Spider-Verse did that, and now they're doing a live-action kind of Spider-Verse. Well, supposedly doing one.
Supposedly. I want to see Andrew Garfield back, but I'm not going to put my chips in that basket because we all know what happened with WandaVision. Mephisto!
Yeah, that's a good point. And Quicksilver.
Oh, yep. And then turn into Ralph Boner. Yay! My thoughts exactly, Sean. My thoughts exactly. Is that right there? Oh.
Yeah. So the next question is from it's from Mr. Rice 75. He asks, if Zack implemented the squid ending to his Watchmen film, what do you think the general audience would have thought?
I feel like it depends on a couple of factors. I feel like if they were going to include the squid, they should have made a part 1 and part 2. Because the squid needs more build-up, the squid needs more explanation. Because in the book, like, although there's not a ton of time devoted to it in the book, there's enough time in the book given to where you can see where it came from and understand why it's there in the first place. Because the ultimate cut of Watchmen is long enough as it is. It's like, what, 3.5 hours long, I believe is what it is, last time I checked.
Yeah.
So it's already a very long movie, at least the ultimate cut that encompasses the entire book, right? And if you did the squid thing, you'd have to make it like 4 hours, maybe 4 hours and 15 minutes, right? You have to make it a very long, like Zack Snyder's Justice League length movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they're going to do that, they should have done Watchmen Part 1, Watchmen Part 2. And that's how I like I mentioned with the Batman Long Halloween, I feel like that's how all big graphic novels should be done, is that you shouldn't compress and cast aside parts of the story into like a certain time frame, but rather explore the story in its fullness to where it's it's the orchestrated story that it was on the pages. So explore it in multiple different films, give it a longer runtime or multiple different parts. It just makes more sense to me to do that, because again, when you compress it to an hour and a half or 2 hours, you lose so much. I mean, we saw what happened to Justice League. When you compress the story into 2 hours, it doesn't work. But given more time to breathe and more time to develop, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I liked the way they did it in the 2009 film. I had no problems whatsoever. I didn't even know that the comics existed when I watched the movie back then, or around that, like a few years ago when I first watched the movie. So I never had any bearing on me. They did it in the Watchmen TV show, and they put it in there, and I was like, all right, that's cool, that's awesome. But instead, I for general audiences, not many people seen that movie in theaters. The Watchmen came out in 2009, and probably wasn't received that well either. But people, Zack Snyder, are probably going to hate him anyway. If it was somebody else, they probably like the idea. So I have no problem with it.
The dude could feed a whole country and people would still hate him. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
But actually, I think he said wouldn't have looked right for his story he was telling or something like that.
I think recently he said something along the lines of what Dawson is saying. I think in one of the interviews he said that if you had to bring in the squid, you'd need to add 30 more minutes, to establish that.
Okay.
And he kind of said that a 4-hour Watchmen movie probably would have had that. So
because like you said, Sean, I'm okay with the ending they had in the movie with Dr. Manhattan. I feel like it's more, it hits more home for Dr. Manhattan's character for it to happen that way. And that, I feel like that's the only way they could have done it with that length of movie, because you already have developed Dr. Manhattan throughout the film, his thought process, how he operates. You already established that he and Vite are working together on some kind of power source. So like you have that connection already, and that's a nice little segue into the end, which I personally have no idea why people hate that ending so much. Because like I have the graphic novel, I've read it like 4 or 5 times through just this past year and a half alone. And you watch Watchmen, and besides the Dr. Manhattan ending, it's the book. It is the book verbatim. The only change is just the Dr. Manhattan thing, which there's still a psychological aspect to it that just makes sense and works,
Yeah, I agree, man. I love the ending as well, and I think I prefer the movie ending as well. I don't know how I personally would have felt with this squid thing, because the movie, I know it was Dr. Manhattan, he going to Mars and building stuff, but a squid is kind of ridiculous, in that movie. I don't know if that would have worked, but I get your point. Establishing that to work would probably have made me like it. So,
yeah. Because it works in the book too. Because like again, they took time to establish that, and especially the panels where the squid appears and like a bunch of people die. Like, oh my gosh, if I had saw that on screen in a 4-hour film, that would have been a payoff. I tell you what, oh my gosh, that would have been brutal.
Yeah, the TV show I think didn't do it quite well. It was just one scene, and I didn't think it was.
They could have dwelled on it a little bit more in that show.
Let's move on to the next question from Triboro Gigolo. And he asks, what are your thoughts on Fast 9, and should they do a crossover? I haven't watched Fast 9 yet. I am...
Yeah, we're going to... Is theaters open in India yet?
I haven't checked recently, but the lockdown has been lifted like literally 2 days ago. So probably they'll be open soon. And obviously the first movie they probably will put out is Fast 9.
Yeah.
I have to make a confession.
You've seen it?
Make a confession. I've never seen a single Fast and Furious movie.
Good.
Wow.
Well,
good.
Like I've explained this a couple times, because like when I grew up, I had these different DVDs that had like commercials for the first Fast and Furious movie and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And as a kid, and still to this day, I'm not a huge like car racing kind of guy. Like I'm never really into that. And so those movies didn't appeal to me with those commercials. So I didn't see the first one. I didn't see Tokyo Drift. I didn't see the second or the third, fourth, fifth, or whatever. And then by the time the 7th one came around, I was just like, well, I'm 7 movies behind. Like, I don't really want to bother doing this big old binge of all these movies to catch up. And of course, Cars. 8 and 9 have come out. Cars. Well, I had no choice to see that one, because I have a little brother who was like, oh gosh, when did Cars come out? Like 2010 or something like that. So he was like what, 5 or something. So we had to see it as a family. But other than that, like, yeah, I just was never able to see it.
Yeah, well, I like all the movies. I think they're fun and stuff. They've got more.
Sean's
Super
like
would be
you.
a harder word.
Sean's like, you uncultured swine. How dare you?
You can't enjoy anything, can you?
My soul is black with lack of enjoyment.
I suppose you want your cars to have mythological elements to them as well.
I want to have bats on them, gosh dang it.
Yeah. But no, they've got stupid is the hard word to say, each movie. But they've got more and more like ridiculous. And like usually they come out on my birthday every 2 years. Was like before COVID messed up the timeline of movies coming out. It used to come out around April, so I go see it with my brother, watch it. It's a good time. So I never took it too seriously, enjoyed them, and looking forward to seeing Fast 9. I'm going to get to see it on Wednesday, so I'll do a review on the channel here of it. But yeah, John Cena's in it. I'm a big fan of him, and I'm just going to have a good time. Like I've seen the trailer. It looked ridiculous. Vin Diesel falling out of a truck onto concrete on his elbow. Ridiculous. Them going to space, flying cars, The Rock kicking a missile in the last movie, stuff like that. Ridiculous. So,
yeah, Dawson, you can actually catch up on the franchise because it's not about cars anymore.
That's a good point. Although I did see a clip from, I think it was from Fast 9, where like they used like a grappling gun on the car and like swung around cliffs and like crashed, and neither of the people in the car ended up with a scratch. And I'm just like, okay,
everybody's Superman.
Come on. Pretty much, even Idris Elba.
Yeah. But like, people like the movies and they enjoy them. So look, who are we to judge?
Yeah, that's fair.
And a crossover, I don't think they'll do a crossover with Jurassic World. I don't think that's going to happen. That's the talk. But
once again,
could you imagine Vin Diesel driving a car away from a T-Rex? Like, this is for family, and he drives into the T-Rex's mouth and kills it and comes out unscathed.
Dude, that would be amazing.
It could happen.
It's on insanity levels of Velocipaster, if you've even heard about that one.
That would be amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It could happen. It could happen. We shouldn't laugh.
Yeah. So the next question is from Sourlam 5566, and she asks, "What's your favorite DC movie?" Simple question.
Nice.
Oh, am I going? Batman v Superman: The Ultimate Edition. I love.
I was gonna pick
that movie so much. Well, I mean, you don't have to pick a different one. I mean, we can agree on something here. But I love that movie so much because I remember once the Dark Knight trilogy ended and the Dark Knight Rises was what it was. It just wasn't that great. I remember like my desire to see Batman stuff kind of faded a teeny bit. Because at that time I wasn't huge into collecting comics as much as I am now. And so I was just like, like superhero stuff's cool. Like, like Marvel stuff's been fun. But then Batman v Superman was announced, and then Ben Affleck was cast, and I saw these different images for the movie. And I was living in LA when it was released, even though I wasn't able to see it in theaters when I was out there, which sucks to this day. But the advertising campaign was so great. The billboards were amazing. And it got me hooked. I was so excited. I loved the design for Ben Affleck's Batman. I, of course, really liked Henry Cavill's Superman, and I've only grown to love him more and more since then. And just like watching the Ultimate Edition of that movie, it feels like I'm a huge graphic novel guy. Like I'll pick up a paperback comic every now and then, but my main thing is graphic novels. Like I have a whole shelf of graphic novels. But watching Batman v Superman: The Ultimate Edition is like watching a graphic novel on screen, right? Obviously, it has elements from The Dark Knight Returns, but it's not a straight-up adaptation. But it feels like its own graphic novel, to where like there's different side stories happening that build into the main theme. There's things you have to think about as a fan. And what I actually love about what Zack Snyder did with that is that in graphic novels, you have like thought bubbles, right? Things that you can get a better understanding of the character without them saying it out loud, right? I feel like Zack gave the fans that responsibility to some extent to make those air bubbles for themselves mixed into what was happening in the movie. And I don't know if that was his intention or anything, but that's how I kind of take it, and I love it for it.
I agree.
Yeah, like I love Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I need maybe more time for Zack Snyder's Justice League to be like with me. So it might end up being my number one of all time.
Right,
But
right.
right now, and it has been for a long time, is The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is just, for me, the godfather of comic book movies. It's just top tier. I think the pacing, I just think the way it's shot, it looks like, I watch that movie every year. I actually plan on watching it tonight because I watched Batman Begins last night. But I think it looks like it came out today every time I watch it. And it came out in 2008. And Heath Ledger is just fantastic. Aaron Eckhart, is it? Two-Face.
Aaron Eckhart, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Christian Bale does his thing. Jeremy Irons, Morgan Freeman. I think everyone just has a part to play. That, to me, is the number one comic book movie of all time. It could change after I get to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League a few more times, but that
You mean
movie,
Michael
man,
Caine,
is
right?
just, yeah, what did I say? Sorry.
Jeremy
I was
Irons.
going to ignore that, but thank you, Dawson.
You're welcome. I'm here to correct mistakes.
well-
That's what I'm here for.
Well, look, I can be forgiven for mistaking actors who played the same character, but
No,
I will
you
never
can't.
say that Tommy Lee Jones played Laurie Strode.
That is fair. It's very, very fair. You're still not off the hook for that, Krypton.
All right. But I do agree with Dawson. BVS Ultimate Edition, even the theatrical was, and still to this day is my absolute favorite comic book movie of all time. That movie is not, and I'm not just talking about the movie itself. BVS, it was, there's so many things attached to it, the trailers, the hype building up to it, the fan theories that were stupid at that time. There were just, none of them came true.
Yeah, like oh gosh, there's a couple that I can think of. I know
Keith
Enoch did
being
one.
Flash.
Enoch. Yeah, Joker giving the note of like you let your family die, which I can understand that one a little bit. But Enoch had one that he mocks to this day that he had on his channel of Lex Luthor being a clone of the real Lex Luthor, much similar to the Death and Return of Superman storyline.
Yeah,
like,
there were so many theories.
Yeah,
but then the hype was at the maximum level for that movie. Like everyone I knew just was excited for it because, to an extent, it kind of didn't represent the movie, but the marketing was all about, whose side are you on, whose team are you on, and that was a big thing. And so all that, and then the movie came out, I absolutely loved it. And even as years went by, till to this day, we just keep discovering new stuff, and I just love it for it.
Yeah.
And you brought up the point of having less dialogue and kind of fans thinking about it more than just listening. That's, I think, one of the big factors that separates that movie for me from other comic movies, because I'm someone who actually likes visual storytelling more. I do enjoy when the filmmaker is very smartly showing something instead of just having a lazy dialogue to explain stuff. I do enjoy that more. So Batman v Superman was just the epitome of comic book movies for me.
I mean, there's very few movies where you can actually have a podcast where you talk about each and every minute of the movie, and BBS is one of them.
Yeah,
and it just works. Like I go back to that thing and like visual storytelling at its finest, honestly, and it just works really, really well.
Zack's a genius, just really is, and he's just brilliant. And Philip Parker says in the chat, Philip's actually a good follow on Twitter. You want to follow him. Zack Snyder made graphic novel superhero epics. Marvel makes storytelling a big story over single issues that eventually come in a trade paperbacks. Zack Snyder made. Yeah, you probably get. You guys understand that?
No.
So basically, what he's saying is like graphic novels, like big compiled story where it's like one single narrative leading to something, whereas trade paperbacks are a lot of like individual stories and eventually to so I agree with that 100%. I mean, both are cool and have their own place, but I obviously tend to be the one to prefer the whole graphic novel route.
Yeah. And Frank says, wow, that's an incredible observation. I never thought of that, but it's so true. That gave the fans the responsibility to fill in the
I've never heard of that before, and I completely agree with that. That's awesome.
I mean, it's like Ray Porter. Ray Porter says all the time that Zack asks something of the fans, and it's so true. He asks something of them, and I love that. Like, I love to think of things for myself, and that's why whenever people like bring up to me, like try to argue with me about Batman v Superman, like, but the critics hated it, like this and this, and like, what about this? What about this part of the movie? And I have to answer back, and I try not to be rude, but I'm just like, so you're telling me you can't think for yourself?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this. Like, you can't think of your own idea as to why this might work, or you can't think of your own opinion besides anyway.
Yeah. I understand some people not liking that movie because even to this day, I know that movie is not for everyone. Because even from the title itself, Batman v Superman, people have certain expectations. So I get that, but some people bring up very stupid excuses, and that just doesn't fly.
I can't tell you how many dumb conversations I've had where they ask a question. I'm like, they literally answer that in the freaking movie. Like, what about Batman? Why is he killing people? It's like, he literally answers that in the opening dialogue of the freaking movie.
And the movie,
he answers that question.
And the movie or Zack Snyder isn't asking you to agree with him. That's the point.
Yeah. Gosh, I swear, some people, man, I love them, but anyway.
Some people.
So next question comes from Aaron S. Bailey, who was on our show a couple of episodes before. He asks, with the push to get people back to theaters, do you think we'll get an exclusive No Way Home trailer before Black Widow?
I don't think so, because we already have other Marvel movies coming first. We have Shang-Chi and we have Eternals to come out first.
I just want to see it right now.
and plus, the marketing is being handled by Sony exclusively for that movie, so I don't see that happening.
I can agree with that, especially with the Sony argument. Like, they want to handle it, and so they're going to do it in their own way. But I do think I understand why they would think that would happen with Black Widow, because like Black Widow is obviously like, it's a movie that's taken way too long to get out, and honestly, I'm not very excited for it just because the hype has died. But it's a big picture with a very big character. So like, if you're gonna do something new or tease something new, it would be at that one. So, and if Marvel were in charge of that,
and also to get more people to go watch that movie, I think.
Yeah.
Just like
we haven't seen anything from it.
Yeah. So the next question comes from S for Zanto. He asks, my question about Halloween Kills. Some people said that they saw the entire movie from the trailer. Will there be something unexpected from the trailer? What do you think?
Something unexpected?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're smart, there will be some unexpected things in the movie that they don't show in the trailer. But that's the big question, is like, you expect a film studio to be able to pull that off, but a lot of times it ends up being the case where like, oh, people come in and watch the movie and they're like, well, I kind of got the gist of that through the trailers, right? And that goes to show why marketing is so freaking important. Because if you give everything away, fans are going to feel like they wasted money on something they already understood in the first place. So again, if they're smart and they're handling a franchise like Halloween, which is iconic, then they're saving something.
Yeah, marketing is very important. You don't want to overdo it, but you also don't want to underdo it. So, hopefully the movie has a lot of stuff that we haven't seen yet. And judging by the franchise and just by the direction of the people involved, I'm sure there is some twists that we haven't seen yet.
And I like hiding TK's. So it's kind of going back in the last thing, but hiding TK's coming out Spider-Man trailer be made with the Venom movie. Like that makes sense to me.
Me too.
That would get people going to the theaters.
Yeah.
I would love that. Sienna B asks, my question is, what are your thoughts about Abomination appearance in the Shang-Chi trailer? His first cameo was in The Incredible Hulk, and it looks like he's having his comic book adaptation in this new film.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, and I'm excited. Hopefully we get to see Tim Roth, come back. He's already coming back, but I'd like to see him in his human form as well, and to see how he's been doing the last 10 years or whatever in the universe. But yeah, it's cool. I hope to keep the design as well, because it was pretty badass even back in 2008. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cool they're bringing him back. I do think, we saw him having a little bit more of a comic accurate look in the trailer with the fins on the side of his face. And he's one of those characters, like, again, he's also affected by radiation. The thing with radiation is that if you get a ton of it, it constantly, especially with comic book characters, you constantly evolve and constantly are mutating and changing. So I think that'll be an explanation for that. And I do like the character a lot. I do think the CGI form has aged a little bit from the Incredible Hulk, but then again, that was like 2008, right? That was a while ago. But I'm excited to see him. It'll probably just be a very brief cameo, honestly, because I don't see him being a huge part of the story. Just kind of like basically like a Thor Ragnarok Hulk moment in the arena, but just limited to the arena.
Yeah. I agree. I'm excited to see him as well. I really liked him in The Incredible Hulk, and I actually think that they will, use him more in the future, like a Thunderbolts or some movie like that. Because why not? He was such a cool character played by that actor. Just gave that character a great performance. He was really good. Like, he was one of the best things in that movie. So why not?
Yeah.
I wonder how they'll, if they'll explain the Edward Norton and his switch.
He goes up to Hulk. It's like, you look different.
Because they kind of did that with Rhodey, and I loved how they did it. The first time they meet, and then he just says, "Look, I'm here. It's me. Let's move on." Then that was basically them telling the audience.
Yeah, it was
like,
good.
Don't worry about it. We recast the guy, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So
Michael Keaton will do the same in the Flash film.
Oh man!
No! Stop it!
Oh man, being a DC fan,
it hurts all the time.
Speaking of, Jay hashtag the Snyderverse says, "Love your channel for real, the most informative out there. Thank you." Mike,
haha, in your face, Dawson.
Oh wow! All right, I wasn't expecting that kind of bashing today, but it's whatever.
My question:
You got 17K subs. Yeah, what we got? Let's move on to the question.
My question is, in what extension will Zack use the DCEU in his sequels? Like in the last battle against Darkseid, it says that the whole DCEU will fight him. Will we see the Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Shazam, and Black Adam? Black Adam characters. It would be so dope. Look, I get that some people would like that, but I'm going to disappoint with my answer by saying absolutely none of those characters will be in the sequels. I think for the most part, if he's going to get someone, it would probably be Black Adam. Or Black Canary.
I would have to kind of disagree and agree at the same time. I feel like Zack would bring some characters that were involved in the DCEU very early on. Like, I think he'd try to get Will Smith's Deadshot. I don't know how successful they'd be in doing that. They definitely would want to get Harley Quinn. Jared Leto's Joker, obviously.
I meant Shazam, other than those planned ones.
Shazam, I'm iffy on that one. I agree with you as far as, like, if anything, Black Adam. I think they would have the Shazamly be, like, killed off pretty quickly, which might disappoint some fans, but I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. So I don't know about the entire DCEU, especially, like, not the ones that are going to be made that's, like, different from what Zack was doing. But then again, who knows? Who knows with the whole Discovery thing? Maybe Discovery, when they get fully in power, they channel it to where it more so connects to where using all the DCU characters is more of a realistic thing that could happen. Again, it's the whole patience thing. I think we'll have a better idea of the answer to this question in maybe a year or two.
Damn, that's a good answer.
I think Zack has given. I think Zack has given a lot of people, because Zack has got his own redemption. Snyder Cut coming out. And he looked at Jared Leto and he gave him redemption. He gave Ben Affleck redemption, Henry Cavill, Ezra Miller. He gave them all. Everyone got redemption. I think he'd do that with, say, Black Canary. She's a character who she was very vocal on Twitter about the
Yeah.
Snyder Cut and stuff like
Oh
that.
man,
So like,
she's
I think Zack
awesome.
sees all that stuff.
Out of
Yeah, I think
everyone, I
Zack
would love
sees
her
that
to
stuff,
come back.
and Zack appreciates people that appreciate his work and stuff like that. So I think he would try to maybe bring her in, as you
Yeah.
said, Deadshot Will Smith, because Will Smith was at the Batman v Superman premiere, and I think he was very much interested in the universe that was being.
He was
built up.
very invested. He was ready to go.
He also has a
So-
kind of a big moment in those drawings and plans.
Storyboards, yeah.
And I think a big factor why he didn't return for the Suicide Squad was because that grand plan was squashed and they moved away from it. And I think he was very interested in that. Like Will Smith is a successful actor. He's a visionary like of himself, his own success and things like that. So to see them move away from that, something that he thought was actually pretty cool. There's probably a reason he's not in the Suicide Squad movie or had no interest in being in it. So, but I think maybe Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Black Canary, that's it.
Yeah, I agree. And then the next question.
I concur.
Yeah. The next question is from Grayson Rodriguez. He asks, on a scale of 1 to cultist, how much do the Superman and Lois writers love Zack Snyder's Superman?
I think they appreciate it, and I think they take what they love about it.
On a scale of 1 to cultist.
I just say I have no problem with them using inspiration from Man of Steel. People
on
do.
A scale of 1 to cultist.
Or
B.
Say it. B.
Austin?
He's not gonna answer
gonna
it.
Skip out on that. All right. Okay. So, I think they respect some of the art writers respect him to a certain degree. Kind of like what you said with references to Man of Steel, some of that cinematography, some of that style. They see what worked in Man of Steel, and I will get you your number. Don't worry, Krypton. I will get you your number.
Okay.
But I do think though there is some weird grudge against him too, because like if you remember the premiere of Superman and Lois. Jeff Johns in there, and the kid who plays Jordan, which I'm not a huge fan of that Jordan character at all. He said in that premiere like special that it's a modern day Superman done well in almost a very sarcastic way.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and so like I watched that and I enjoyed the first episode. I enjoyed the first 5, and I saw that little clip and I was like, oh, you little! I think I know who told you to say that. I think I know who told you to say that. So I'd say if Cultist is 10. I'd give like a happy medium 5.
Okay, cool. I haven't seen it, so I can.
See, I answered the question. So
yeah, man. Like,
you're welcome.
You answered Grayson's question. Unlike, why are we even doing this? The Grim Knight asks.
You gotta satisfy the fans,
man.
Sean.
The Grim Knight asks.
Everybody love everybody.
Yes. The Grim Knight asks, as a DC fan, I'm really excited to see the upcoming The Flash movie. Especially now that we are going to see some familiar faces who we also saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and some who weren't. How much do you think The Flash will be connected to ZSJL, and is it a continuation or not?
So I've thought about this actually for a bit. I think I had this question asked to me once on a stream or somewhere else. But I think Andy Muschietti is going to play this very safe. I think what he's going to do is he's going to keep the continuity between either this movie and Justice League or this movie and Zack Snyder's Justice League as very ambiguous. I think he's going to leave it up to the viewer. I think he's going to simply give you vague things and just leave it at that, so that way he doesn't piss off one side of the fandom or another. I just think that would make the most sense, and he seems like a guy who would be smart enough to do that. As far as a continuation of Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'd be shocked if it's an exact continuation, and if it is, it'll be a very, very vague reference to Zack Snyder's Justice League, if that. Because again, Warner Bros. Is still overseeing this thing, and the executives in charge of like producing it obviously are very anti-Snyder. So like, he's gonna definitely have to tread some water and tread a fine line, you know.
Yeah, I also don't think
Yeah,
that
I agree.
I also don't think that it will be exactly Snyderverse, within the Snyderverse, but the DCU basically now is in a limbo in between going into the
Yes.
future and hanging on to what's left of the Snyderverse in their timeline. So I can understand what responsibility Andy has, because that's basically a very what do you call it, hard line to cross.
Yeah. Essentially, Andy Muschietti is between a rock and a hard
Yes,
place.
yes,
That is where he is as a
yes.
director, which is a terrible place to be. But so far, he's handling it like a champ. Just doing what he
Yeah,
can.
and I
So
hope he does. I'm definitely not asking him to make it an exact sequel, but I also just don't want him to, which I'm sure he won't. I just don't want the movie to
yeah,
trash on the Snyderverse that came before.
right. To
Yes.
disrespect what creators did
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I agree with you both guys. I think that he'll take what he wants from Snyder's world and just do his own thing as well. So I'm not worried.
The next question is from Peppermint again, and she asks, "I just want to know why the industry feels the need to give Zack Snyder such a hard freaking time."
That's a tough question because like I've been thinking that myself. Like honestly, like I get difference in taste and tone. I get difference in desire for direction with your films, but there's a difference between that and what Warner Brothers is doing. So like I'm just thinking like whose mom did Zack Snyder insult? Like who what happened in some like meeting, some like script writing meeting or something, or some pitch meeting that made them dislike Zack so much? And like the only thing that I can think of, because like we all know Zack's a gentleman. We all know that. Like Zack, he treats people well and he's very courteous. He creates a great set environment for his actors and his cast and crew. So like I have a hard time seeing him being very disagreeable. In fact, he's put up with Warner Brothers for like a decade and a half with their nonsense, right? And so like I honestly just feel like it's because he's not as willing to be the old school movie guy. And also just the thing is that Zack Snyder is very artistic minded. He went to art school, he's an artist at heart, and I always call him an artist who directs movies. Like obviously his label is director, but I call him an artist who directs movies. And when you're very artistic minded, and I mean, I'm not gonna go out there and say like he's Da Vinci or anything, but Zack is an artist who's ahead of his time in the way that he approaches things and the way that he films his movies. And oftentimes in history, when it comes to artists or just people in an industry that are ahead of their time, oftentimes people just don't understand and just dislike it right off the bat. Like for example, Van Gogh, one of the most popular artists of all time, of all history. He's very popular for Starry Night, City Nights, like very great artistic pieces of work. They're just great and revered today. But back then, people didn't like his stuff at all. People didn't like his art. In fact, it caused him to be extremely depressed and caused a lot of hardship for him. Kind of like what's going on in the modern day with Zack Snyder. Again, I'm not saying Zack Snyder's Van Gogh, but it's a similar concept. He's ahead of his time, and so he's going to get bashed for a bit. So I anticipate by the time that I'm like 40 or 45, that people will be looking back on what Zack did with these movies and be like, he was onto something. He was doing something pretty cool. And I'll sit there and be like, I told you.
Get off my
You
lawn.
didn't listen to me. Get off my lawn. Now that'd be more like 60 years old. I'd be like, get off my lawn, you stupid kids. But
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I just
And I also think that
yeah,
it's
it's just
multiple factors, though. I think that some
yeah,
people hate him because he gets what he wants, and some people hate him because he is he's kind of a rebellious person. He argues with the corporate people, and
he questions
yeah,
things.
and then he is very much, he knows what to do, and he goes he goes for every step to make sure that they, at least he makes it a point that he wants to do that, whereas
Mhm.
other directors, like Adam Wingard, maybe they'll just listen to everything the studio
Mhm.
says and then make GVK. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are different reasons. So from the industry standpoint, I don't think everyone hates him. I just think that he's too popular, so there are a lot of eyeballs on him, and obviously with
Mm.
that there comes, and from his nature, how he is, he wants his vision out there, and he understands what he wants. That is his basic mindset, is that he wants his movies to be his point of view. The moment the movie he's making loses his point of view, then there's no point of making that. So for him, that's
Mm.
his prime motive, and that's what he makes sure gets on the final cut. But oftentimes, like we know that his director's vision, the director's cut, didn't make the final cut, and most of the time his movies got butchered. So that also leaves a
Mm.
bad taste in people's mouths. So there's different factors we can discuss about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think like the safe option would have been to take Zod to Arkham
Yeah.
Asylum type thing at the end of Man of Steel. The easy option would have been Superman to fly into the sunset after Batman v Superman. You know, people look at Sucker Punch and say he's over sexualizing women. Is he, or are you doing that? Those kind of meta storytelling that he does. So I think a lot of that is that too, and that's why he gets hated and stuff like that. But he's one of my favorite directors, and I love his movies. He's just fantastic. And Philip goes, he's got more creative integrity than a whole network of guys who worship a yellow oval. That's for damn sure. Now,
I'm curious, what yellow oval is he referring to here?
I'm not sure either.
I'm sure he'll comment it in, but whatever it is, I'm sure he's right.
What is its name?
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't text back something controversial. And we're like, we agreed with it. Hopefully.
And they're going to clip that and cancel you. You're done.
Yeah.
John Stokes.
How many more questions?
Yes, we have. John Stokes asks, "Hey, Sean Maher, aka the Viking at the Real Talk Live." Looks like a super fan. With the announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy.
He knows me by name. He knows me by name.
With the announcement of the Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy box set coming soon, do you think this is Zack accepting that his full vision is not, in brackets, there's 2 and 3, is not going to be realized, or do you think this is just the studio capitalizing on the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Yeah, I think the latter. That's my answer.
Yeah, because like if Zack Snyder were to, like this is suggesting, accept the fact that his story is not getting realized, he would tell the fans first. I feel like I don't feel like he'd do it in a subliminal way with a box set, right? I wouldn't read too much into the idea that says trilogy, because I'm pretty sure it's something the studio wanted to do, because they put out the video on the HBO Max YouTube channel saying Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy. Because at the end of the day, like, yes, it's a trilogy of films. It's Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League. It's a trilogy of a story that can be added onto. Like, for example, you had the original Star Wars trilogy. They sold like the box sets of the Star Wars trilogy, then they added onto it afterwards. So just because it's labeled a trilogy does not mean that it closes the door on anything afterwards. Because for all you know, like, yes, we know there's 2 Justice League movies planned afterwards, but for all we know, they could either do one of 2 things, like a show that continues the trilogy, for instance, or they could do like 3 more movies, which I think is less likely than the show idea, just because the show would be cheaper, and especially if you shoot it all the way through back to back and everything. But I wouldn't read too much of the whole trilogy word. Basically, just the studio wanted to capitalize on it. And it was funny. I actually got asked a question on my YouTube community page. I posted about the box set. And I was like, let's go. Like, and hashtag restore the Snyderverse. I was very excited. And someone asked me, like, what does it have to do with restoring the Snyderverse? And I was like, well, honestly, everything. Because, again, it's an opportunity for fans to show, like, especially with the Blu-ray, Steelbook, and the box set, right? It's a chance for fans to show, much like the remaster BVS, that there's a market for this stuff. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the box set or the Steelbook Blu-ray sells out faster than the remastered Batman v Superman did.
Mm-hmm. Like, I was just looking over there. I have the Transformer movies, Transformers trilogy. Earlier in the show, we were talking about Transformers 7. So, it's, so it doesn't mean anything. It's just money. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then the next question is from Movie Meme 1978. He asks, "What are you hoping to see during Phase 4 of MCU?" Well, that is not a very specific question, but one of the things I would say is I'm looking forward to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I just hope that that's one thing that I really really want.
Please, please. Like seriously, I've been reading through some old Spider-Man comics that I've had growing up, and this is one of them. I have the this is a digest version of one of the comics.
Nice.
But like this is the comics I think of when I watch Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. These ones that I grew up with. So like I agree. If he's gonna be in No Way Home, I want to be featured more in the MCU just because I love the iteration of Spider-Man so much. I also with Phase 4, I don't want them to, continue to rely on Tony Stark. I want them to build off of different characters, build off of different stories. No more like supervillain origin stories involving Tony Stark screwing them over back when he was a bad person, like a drunk, corporate head, right? I don't want any more of that. I want, villains like, for example, Spider-Man's villains, for instance. I want to see Scorpion have his own specific origin that's separate from the Stark Industries. Yeah. I want to see like Rhino have his own separate origin. I want to see characters be more dependent on their own individual parts of the world rather than on the centralized thing of either Tony Stark or S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man 3, the plot's about Tony Stark. I think something I heard that, yeah, Tony Stark's involved with the plot for Spider-Man 3.
Nah.
Yeah,
Look, I'll take that if they're giving me Garfield. I'll take that.
Yeah, same for Toby. But I'm just looking forward to seeing Toby return and Sam Raimi return, if that's true.
If it's true, which, again, we just don't know. There's so much about this movie we just don't know. And I have a lot of people keep telling me, like, oh, yeah, they're going to be in the movies. Like, but do you know that? Like, do you know that? No, we don't.
And then today, like, Tobey Maguire has signed his first contract in 7 years for a new movie. And it wasn't Spider-Man 3.
So, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, I would love to be surprised. So.
Yeah, I'd love to be surprised. I think.
All right, so looks like we are back. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, sorry about that. And Dawson had to go; it was being late for him. So we are done with the top questions anyway. So that's a wrap on our show today. All the topics are covered. So we can wrap it up. Where can they find you, Maher?
Yeah, Movies That Matter on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also follow the Real Talk Live pages on.
Oh shit!
Twitter,
I forgot to update the
Instagram.
Facebook logo.
We have a Facebook one too. But we're going to be, and the viewers' questions seem to be pretty good and broad and stuff like that. So we might do that every Saturday. So if you want to put questions towards the show, just to keep an eye on the social media pages or comment on any of the videos on the channel, and we'll include them in the Q&A on the live streams.
Yeah, you can follow us at The Real Talk Live on Twitter, Instagram, and now Facebook. You can follow me at Krypton Caged on all social media. We'll be back on Wednesday with Loki episode 4. So excited for that, and we'll be covering other topics as usual. And we really loved the interaction today. All the questions and all the comments were amazing. So that I would really appreciate if you keep doing that every week. And also watch out for the videos that we clip out from this stream and post. So follow our Twitter page and now even Facebook for all of that. So until next time, bye bye.